Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is Kakashi's favorite student. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by INTI0ST and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. This is bullshit, thought Naruto as he sat tied to a post in the middle of training ground 3. He glared at his two teammates as they started to persuade Kakashi to drop Naruto from the shinobi corps. He's just a dope. He'll get in my way, said Sasuke with a stoic visage, although one could make out the faint hint of a smirk on his face. Sasuke's right. Naruto will just hold us back from reaching our potential, stated Sakura as she glanced over to Sasuke to see if he would finally notice her. Sasuke, as per his usual impassive self, showed no reaction to her comment. This team was never going to work, Kakashi thought. He didn't want to pass this team or whatever it could be considered. Then he remembered his time with Minato, and he suddenly had a wonderful idea. He was about to let them know his decision when something happened to Naruto. Screw this. If this is how a team is supposed to be, then count me out. I'll be seeing you guys back at the academy, Naruto said, and then began to walk away towards the village. Oh yeah? Kakashi-sensei here? You might want these back, called out Naruto as he threw 2 silver bells back to Kakashi. He caught them deftly and he had to wonder when Naruto had grabbed them. I'll be damned. This just confirms my decision, Kakashi reflected inwardly. He knew what he was going to do now. Like his sensei did for him, Kakashi was going to take Naruto under his wing. What the hell? Screeched out Sasuke and Sakura. How did you do that, dope? Asked Sasuke towards the retreating form of Naruto. Naruto simply stopped, and without turning around said to figure it out yourself. Sakura was not much better as she accused Naruto of cheating and trying to show up her Sasuke-kun as Naruto walked away from his would-be teammates. Enough, you two. You'll meet back at the academy at the start of next to be placed in the reserve corps. Any questions? Kakashi stated smoothly. Why? Asked Sakura. Nobody got the bells and we weren't tied up, so why should we go back to the academy? HNN. And why not the dobe? Sasuke said with a touch of ice in his voice. Simple. He tried to work with both of you and you both rebuffed him. Plus, he left a little note for the two of you. I'm sure you'll find the answer to the exercise on it, Kakashi said in his usually tone of boredom and apathy. Sasuke and Sakura walked over to read the note left over, and it simply said one thing: teamwork. They both just looked dumbly at the word. Neither was willing to believe that the dobe that they had known for years could have figured it out. Well, this has been fun, but I have to inform the Hokage about this and let him know my decision for this team, Kakashi said. He turned to walk away and reached for his little orange book in his kunai pouch. Sasuke couldn't believe that Kakashi was just walking away. Enraged, the young teen charged at the older man. Unfortunately, Sasuke soon found his face in the dirt with a kunai placed on his throat. I am not someone to mess with, little boy. If you do something like this to me or to Naruto, you will be removed from the shinobi corps and your chakra sealed. Blink once if you understand, Kakashi stated coldly with a hint of malice in his voice. Sasuke could only blink in agreement. Kakashi turned left via Shunshin, leaving only a pile of leaves. Hokage Tower. Hello, Kakashi. Nice of you to join us, said Hiruzen. He noticed Kakashi entered the room at the appropriate only because the Hokage told him to be there earlier than the actual meeting was supposed to take place. Hokage-sama, said Kakashi without looking up from his book, much to the dismay of some of the female jonin. Sorry I'm late. I had to take care of a delusional nut job. He tried attacking me and I defended myself. The other jonin had thought that it was one of his weaker excuses from the ones they had heard over the years. The Hokage nodded in understanding as he witnessed the bell test and the events following it. Do you wish to bring charges upon this nut job? Hiruzen said with a slight smirk. Much to the confusion of the people standing in the room. I intend to, but since I'm the last one here. I, Kakashi Hatake, Jonin Sensei of Team 7 consisting of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto Uzumaki have failed the genin test. However, I shall be taking on a pupil as my sensei did with me, stated Kakashi as he addressed the Hokage. The other occupants started to mutter amongst themselves until one person spoke to Kakashi. I figured the Uchiha would be picked up as your student. The other two probably slowed him down, especially that boy. One jonin said with a bit of venom on the word boy. Ma. I would appreciate it if you didn't talk about my pupil like that, Kakashi said with his iconic eye smile, but one could feel the killing intent rolling off the man as well as some coming off the Hokage. The random jonin, for his part, shut his mouth and then retreated behind several others. What do you mean? Surely, you didn't take the Uzumaki boy as a student. He was dead last at the academy, another stated. The Uchiha is good, but he was the reason that they failed the test. He refused to work with either of the other two. He also nearly killed Haruno with a stray fireball. If it hadn't had been for Naruto, she would have been killed. As for Haruno, she was useless throughout the test and had rebuffed Naruto in favor of fawning over the Uchiha. Naruto got both of the bells from me and he also understood the point of the test. From now on, Naruto Uzumaki is my student. He will be treated as such, and he has more than earned that after everything in his life, expressed Kakashi towards the room. Indeed. That concludes the meeting. You are dismissed. Nico, bring me Naruto. The Hokage stated. Also, the Jonin that had something to say about Naruto, you are now a genin and enjoy the next 6 months of D-rank missions. Naruto's apartment. As Naruto walked into his apartment, he slammed the door close while muttering about pink banshees and emo duckbutts. Ever since he could remember, he always got shafted whether by shops or at the academy. It was something he grew accustomed to during his life. As he walked through the kitchen to reach his bedroom, he noticed the scroll on the counter. He picked it up and began to read. Naruto, you showed great potential today. I will be taking you on as a student. An ANBU is retrieving you for a meeting with us and the Hokage. Kakashi, seriously? Naruto muttered to himself. No way. Why would he want me? Then he heard someone knock on his door. He walked to it, and he opened to reveal an ANBU with distinctive purple hair. Nico-chan? Why are you here? I haven't pranked anyone lately, I think, Naruto stated, trying to convey his innocence. No, Naruto-kun. You aren't in trouble because of your pranks. I'm here to take you to the Hokage so you can meet your new sensei, replied Nico. She has known the boy for many years, being part of the team that would rotate to watch over young Naruto. You mean this letter is real? Asked Naruto, not truly believing her words while showing the scroll to the woman. Yes, it is, so let's go, Nico said while grabbing Naruto's shoulder. For his part, Naruto just nodded dumbly while closing and locking his apartment door. Both left via Shunshin, courtesy of Nico. Outside of Hokage Tower, Nico and Naruto arrived just outside of the Hokage Tower and were about to walk inside when someone shouted at Naruto to get his attention. Naruto turned to see Sasuke and Sakura walking up to him and glaring. Hey Dobe. What are you doing here? You don't deserve to be a shinobi. Go home or I'll make you regret ever thinking about becoming a ninja, Sasuke said with cold rage in his voice. Not waiting for a response, Sasuke retrieved a kunai and then tried to stab Naruto in the chest. Naruto simply dodged and then Nico grabbed Sasuke's wrist. You just tried to stab a fellow shinobi. I'm going to have to take you into IT, stated Nico, and then turning towards Naruto, she asked Naruto-kun, can you make to the Hokage's office? Of course, Nico-chan. Thank you. I got it, Naruto said as he began to walk towards the old man's office. Sakura didn't realize that Naruto left because of fretting over Sasuke and asking Nico to release him. Hokage's office. The door suddenly flew open to reveal Naruto exclaiming, Hey Gigi, what can you tell me about my new sensei? The Hokage could only chuckle at easygoing attitude of his surrogate grandson. Hokage's office. Hiruzen chuckled at the antics of his surrogate grandson. Yes, Naruto. Come in, the old man said while forming a hand seal. Hokage-sama, is now the best time for this? Kakashi asked as the security seals activated around the office. Yes, Kakashi. It's time, stated Hiruzen as he filled his pipe with tobacco and lit it. Is this about my parents? Asked Naruto plainly. Kakashi looked at Naruto, mouth agape and eyes wide, although one couldn't really tell because of the mask and his hitite covering his left eye. The Hokage wasn't much better as his pipe fell from his mouth, as he slowly stood up to look at Naruto. What do you know about your parents, Naruto? Hiruzen asked numbly. The old man could feel guilt and regret welling up within him as he looked at the young boy in front of him. Kakashi was speechless, not daring to speak for fear of missing something important. To answer your question, Naruto started talking as he walked to look out one of the windows. As to my parents, I only know of one. My father was the Yondaime Hokage. To be fair, it was kind of obvious once I really thought about it. As Naruto finished, Kakashi and Hiruzen could only look down in shame. Naruto, how long have you known? Asked Kakashi. Hiruzen, not trusting his voice at the moment, silently thanked the man. Long enough. Like I said, I figured it out once I thought about it. Naruto chuckled slightly. I was angry at first. I wanted to lash out anyone and everyone once it dawned on me. Hiruzen winced at the fact the boy went through so much pain and at the fact that the same boy knew at least some of past. For Kakashi, he felt like he had failed his sensei once more. Both failed to look Naruto in the eye when they heard him continue. However, after a bit of thinking I understood why I wasn't told about either and I understood why my dad did what he did. That doesn't mean I won't punch him in the face if I get the chance, but I understand the sacrifice he made. All I ask is that you tell me more about him and my mother. Please, Naruto asked pleadingly with eyes that have seen far too much pain for a boy his age. Kakashi and Hiruzen looked at each other, and they understood what needed to be done. Hiruzen said, We can do more than that, Naruto. I have several things that belong to your parents that are your birthright. Hiruzen then stood up and walked over to the portrait of the Yondaime, and channeled some chakra into the frame. The portrait then revealed a small alcove containing several scrolls. The old Hokage took them from their resting place and placed them upon his desk. He then beckoned Naruto to come over. Naruto complied without saying a word. These scrolls contain various things that your parents left you before they died. One scroll contains a letter from your father, which I'm sure he also contained instructions on how to enter his study at his and your mother's estate. Another contains a letter from Mother Kushina Uzumaki, also known as the Red Hot-Blooded Habanero. Lastly, the final scroll contains the keys and documents to your parents' estate. Hiruzen told the young boy who could only stare at the scrolls laying on the table. If you want, I could tell you some stories about your parents sometime. I was your father's student, Kakashi said. Naruto just nodded his head and told him he would like that. Now Naruto, how about we go and see your new home? We'll even help you move your things in, Hiruzen said as he stood and walked over to the boy. The old Hokage simply wrapped his arms around the boy, wordlessly telling him that things would get better for the young lad. Namake's estate. After getting his things from his old apartment, Naruto, Kakashi, and Hiruzen stood in front of the gated compound of the Namake's clan. Naruto let a low whistle in appreciation for the decent-sized estate. It was not the size of the Uchiha or Hyuga compounds, but still it covered a decent-sized area. Okay, Naruto. All you have to do is channel some of your chakra into the seal on the gate, and it should open, said Kakashi as he knew from his times visiting the compound to see his sensei. Alright, said Naruto nervously as proceeded to channel chakra into the seal. He noticed that the seal started to hum and glow red before turning a light blue to signify the seal was deactivated. He then pushed the gate open to reveal a 10-acre piece of land with an estate that could house 4 full families. Wow! It's incredible, Naruto said dumbly as it finally set in that he had a true home instead of a rundown apartment. Yes, it is, Hiruzen and Kakashi said lowly while glancing over the compound. Hiruzen continued by saying, Now Naruto, let's go and see your new home. As they walked into the main house, they were greeted with the smell of dust and grime. Despite the place being uninhabited for 12 years, it was surprisingly good. The living room and kitchen were both spacious. There was also a guest room and an occupying bathroom that made up the first floor. There were 4 bedrooms, 3 guest rooms with bathrooms, and the main bedroom on the second floor. However, the true gem of the house lay in the basement. The library was filled with various scrolls from both Minato and Kushina's time as shinobi, Minato's private study, and a small training ground built for use in conjunction with small jutsus, and the testing of various scrolls. This place is incredible. Is it really all mine? Naruto asked, wide-eyed and in disbelief. Yes, it is Naruto, Hiruzen stated to the young boy. While standing in the house's living room, Naruto looked at the photo hanging placed on the mantel above the fireplace. It showed a young man in his 20s with a soft smile and spiky blonde hair with his arm around a young woman with a giant grin and flowing red hair giving a peace sign with her eyes closed. If one were to look closer, one could see that the woman had one of her hands holding onto one of the man's hands atop her belly. That was when Naruto realized that this was a family portrait. His family's portrait. Staring at the image, Naruto smiled and said softly, She's beautiful. That she was, my boy, Hiruzen said with a sad smile while Kakashi only nodded while remembering all the pain from his past and his new resolve to help the young boy in front of him to become a shinobi as great as his parents were. Now Naruto, stated Hiruzen, gaining the boy's attention, as I said before, this is now all yours. We leave you for now. I'm sure you'll find anything specific about the house and the estate within your parents' letters. Again, I'm sorry for not being more proactive in your life, Naruto. He then bowed to the young boy who had become like a grandson to the older man. It's okay, Gigi. I forgave you long ago. Thank you for at least acknowledging me, Naruto told the Hokage while wrapping the man in a tight bear hug, which Hiruzen graciously returned. Afterward, Kakashi and the Hokage left the young boy on his own to give some time for everything that he learned about to truly sink in. Naruto let out a deep breath. I guess I better read my parents' letters and clean up. He then summoned 10 shadow clones, without a word, to get the house and grounds to a form deserving of his parents' stature. He then sat down on one of the couches in the living room that just so happened to look at the portrait of his family, the family that was taken from him before he ever had a conscious thought. He sighed and then pulled at the scroll containing his father's last words to him. He opened the scroll, and various seals were lining the scroll, most likely including the letter and other items his father wanted to pass along to him. Naruto found the letter first and decided to read it. Dear Naruto, as cliché as this sounds, if you're reading this, then I'm dead. I know that's not exactly the first thing you want to read in a letter from your father. I really want to tell you that I'm so sorry for not being there for you. I don't know when you'll be reading this, but I hope you understand why I did the things I did. I still remember when your mother told me that she was pregnant with you. I was the happiest man alive, and it took everything that she and Kakashi had to keep me from screaming out from the top of Hokage Mountain to the village that I was going to be a father. At that moment, I loved you more than anything that I could fathom, and your mother was the same way. Now on to more pressing matters. I chose you for your burden because I believe that you can not only contain the Kyuubi but also use it in ways not previously done by the past. Jinchuriki. After all, you are my and your mother's son. In the scroll that this letter was in, you'll find some scrolls in my taijutsu style, my personal notes in Fuinjutsu as well as the way to enter my study, and some of my personalized kunai so that you can form your own Horatian seals when you get proficient in seals. The last thing I want you to know is that being your father is the best thing I have ever accomplished in life, and nothing will ever change that. I love you, son, and I'll be watching over you. Love, your father, Minato Namikaze. Naruto had reread the letter 4 times. He still couldn't believe it. It just helps to further his resolve to make his parents proud and to live to their stature. He gently placed the letter back to where he retrieved it. The next thing he looked at was the taijutsu scroll. hummingbird style. It looks like it mainly focuses on speed, getting inside an opponent's guard, and striking with extreme precision, not unlike the gentle fist style. Interesting, Naruto mused to himself. He started to look over his father's notes on Fuinjutsu. He could only make out the basics, but he did see how to enter his father's study. I guess I'll have to start studying seals if I want to learn from his notes. The last thing he found was his father's specialized kunai. The kunai that turned the tide of the great shinobi war. I have quite the legacy to live up to, don't I? Naruto chuckled to himself slightly. Time to read my mother's letter. As he thought this, he glanced up to the portrait in front of him. I definitely got her smile. I hope I can make you proud, Mom. He opened his mother's scroll and found the letter his mother had written for him. Dear Naruto, my beautiful baby boy. I wish I could be there for you, but life isn't always fair. I'm writing this because I won't be in your life, no matter how much I wish and hope that I could be. There are no words expressing how sorry your father, and I can't be there for you to guide you throughout your life. On a happier note, there are no words describing how much love and pride I have in being your mother. I love you more than I can ever honestly tell in this letter. We'll just have to wait until we meet in the afterlife, which I shouldn't see you there until you are at least 115 years old. Considering our family, if you decide to become a shinobi, I want you to carefully consider the 3 shinobi vices. The first is alcohol. There is nothing wrong with drinking, but be responsible and don't become a drunk like your aunt. The second is money. Save it, and use it responsibly. Don't waste it on frivolities. Better yet, it should be used to spoil a woman you love. This leads me to the third vice, women. You should treat a woman with respect and never as an object for your own gain or pleasure. I'll be watching over you, so I'll know if you become a pervert like your uncle. You'll meet him at some point, and hopefully, you can help your aunt return to the village. Hiruzen can tell you more about them. Lastly, I just want you to know that no matter what, you are the best thing I have ever done in my life and that my love for you and your father transcends even death. I love you, Naruto. Never forget that. With love, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. P.S. I left you a few things inside the scroll, including the ring that your father proposed to me with along with my 2 swords and a scroll detailing my kenjutsu style. Naruto couldn't hold the tears back anymore. After reading his parents' letters, his tears flowed like a stream to the point he succumbed to exhaustion. He awoke a few hours later still clutching his mother's letter. He noticed that the house looked cleaner, and figured that the clones had finished cleaning. That's when I recalled that he needed to pick up more cleaning supplies, a memory that he didn't have before falling asleep. He made a mental note to add the questions to ask either Kakashi or the Hokage. He proceeded to find the things that his mother had left him. Naruto then started to read the scroll on his mother's kenjutsu style. Twin Typhoon style? It seems interesting. I guess that means I have to find a teacher for swords. Then he took out the 2 swords. The 2 swords were Kodachi. However, one had a red sheath with a black handle, and the other had a black sheath with a white handle. He pulled both from their sheaths. He noticed that the blades looked to chakra-conductive metal, and it seemed to suck in all light to cold black metal of the blade. Absolutely incredible. Now I have to learn my mother's style. It would be a disservice to her and these 2 beautiful blades. Lastly, Naruto pulled out the ring that belonged to his mother given to her by his father. I promise, Mom. I'll find someone that I genuinely care about. He carefully placed the ring back into its box. Afterward, Naruto made his way into his father's study. He noticed that it was lined with books and scrolls ranging from the history of the great nations to chakra theory and various jutsus from the different disciplines. A small room attached to the study contained the other tools shinobi employed throughout their missions. He realized that he won't have to worry about ninja tools and weapons for a while. He then decided to go to his new bedroom on the 2nd floor. He walked into the primary bedroom and noticed the king-sized bed, ample space, walk-in closet, and add-on bathroom. It's spacious, just like the rest of the house, Naruto mused to himself. He placed his toiletries in the bathroom and moved his clothes into the closet when he decided that he really needed to update his wardrobe. Something to do for tomorrow, I guess. Naruto thought finished things and went to bed after such a taxing day. Hokage Tower. Earlier, Hiruzen Sarutobi was not someone to be trifled with despite being 70 years old. There were several good reasons that he was known as the Professor and the God of Shinobi throughout the great nations. Yet, the Civilian Council of Konoha seems to have forgotten that fact when they had demanded a meeting between them, the Shinobi Council, and the Hokage. Hiruzen could hear the conversations between various parties when he opened the door and walked into the council chambers. The old Hokage was not happy about being summoned by many people who had no idea how the world truly works. I understand that some here feel that I don't know how to run the village, Hiruzen stated in a tone that showed he was in a state where he was barely containing his rage. Hokage-sama, we summoned the council so that we know the reason why the Uchiha not only failed to be placed on a genin team but also why he was detained earlier today, said a rather portly man belonging to the civilian council. The room was flooded with killing intent provided by the old Hokage. The civilian council could barely stay conscious because of the introduction of killing intent, and the shinobi wasn't much better. Who are you and the civilian council to demand answers from me? Hiruzen roared as he nearly gave the order to his ANBU to remove the man's head. It seems that you forget who runs this village. I will gladly provide a lesson on why this council is only advisory in nature if you would like. All knew that the question was rhetorical, and all just nodded to the old man. Hiruzen then went on to explain the events of the day. To say that the civilians were outraged was an understatement. Not only had their so-called savior failed to pass the genin test, but the demon had been taken on as an apprentice to the strongest Jonin in the village. Hokage-sama, indeed, this is a mistake. Sasuke could never do the things that have been reported. He is part of the great Uchiha clan, said a pink-haired woman, trying to earn favor for her daughter. The boy obviously tricked Hitaki into failing Sasuke and my daughter. That's where you're wrong, Harino-sama, said Kakashi in his normal bored tone, but if one were to listen closely, they could hear the venom lacing his voice. He did not appreciate that someone was showing such a bias to a boy that had no choice in the burden that he carried. Simply put, Sasuke and Sakura failed my test and then decided to try and take out their frustrations on the boy that did pass. Now, if I hear you talking bad about my student again, well, let's just say that it wouldn't be pleasant for anyone involved. The civilians in the chambers were shocked at the veiled threat, while the shinobi was silently congratulating the former ANBU captain for standing up to the fools that believed that they held any actual power. Enough. The discussion is not up for debate. The failure of Team 7 is a shinobi matter, and as such, the civilians have no bearing in this matter. In fact, the civilians and my advisors are dismissed. I have several issues to attend to with the shinobi of this council. Leave now, and if anyone feels like causing an outburst, then I'll be more than accommodating with removing their head from their body. Hiruzen stated with ice in his voice. The civilians wisely shuffled out of the chambers while the advisors had to be prodded with killing intent to get them to leave. Now then, are there questions or concerns about the placement of the new genin? The clan heads that made up the shinobi council declined. Good, who wants some sake? He then pulled out a storage scroll that held a large bottle of sake and several cups. Namake's estate. Naruto awoke about a decent night's sleep, considering everything after yesterday's events. From becoming the lone student of Kakashi to receiving his inheritance, yesterday was a very taxing day for the young heir of the Uzumaki and Namakes. Naruto made his way down to his kitchen. He started to make a checklist about what he needed to get done. He needed to get groceries and new clothes. After doing his morning routine, Naruto made his way to the kitchen for breakfast. After completing his customary cup of ramen, he sensed Kakashi about to enter the house. Hello, Kakashi. I'm surprised that you're here early, Naruto stated without turning around to face his new sensei. You're a censor? Kakashi asked, slightly surprised that Naruto could sense him coming. Yeah, I figured I got it from one of my parents. I never really told anyone about it though, so you're the only one who knows, Naruto said while still fixing his ramen. Now that I think about it, I should tell you more about what I know and can do, right? That would be preferable. But we can discuss that later when we start training, Kakashi mused as he read his little orange book. I am here to figure out how we should conduct your training from this point. So, I figured we could assess your current skill level and then go from there. I have a rough idea of the regime that you're going to be doing and with whom. I like the sound of that, but I do have a few things I want to do before we get started with training. First, I need groceries, and secondly, I need new clothes. I can't exactly be a great ninja while wearing Kill Me Orange, now can I? Naruto told his father's student. Kakashi thought and said, you make a good point. I know the best place for anything ninja-related, plus I need to see someone there anyway. I can suggest a few grocery stores in the shinobi section of the village that have fair prices for you. That sounds good. Just let me finish breakfast, and we can get started, the young Jinchuriki said. Once finished, the two then made the way to Higarashi's weapons and supplies. Higarashi's. Naruto and his sensei had walked into the store that Kakashi had mentioned earlier. Once inside, Naruto noticed the various sections containing clothes, weapons, and different shinobi tools. While looking around, he heard a female voice. Welcome to Higarashi's. Is there anything I can help you with today? Naruto turned to face a young woman probably a year older than him, wearing a pink Chinese-style shirt, black pants, and blue sandals. Her hair was in a Chinese-style buns on either side of her head with short fringe bangs falling over her forehead protector. Yes, you can. I'm looking for some new clothes and sealing supplies like ink, brushes, and paper, Naruto stated while eyeing the pants on the racks in front of him. Well, I agree that you need something less disturbingly bright. I'm Tenten. Nice to meet you. I guess you just graduated, right? The now-named Tenten stated to the young boy standing in front of her. That's when she noticed the tall scarecrow near the boy. That must be Kakashi, Guy-sensei's eternal rival, mused the girl before turning her attention to the blonde standing in front of her. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking either black or dark gray for the base layer. And do you have anything in a dark red, either a vest or jacket that has added protection? Naruto asked Tenten. He turned to face her for the first time since entering the shop. Cute, Naruto thought before turning towards the arm guards. Yes, we do. Most of the pants we keep in stock are dark blue, but we have a few items in different items. I can show you everything now if you would like, Tenten said to the boy, a little miffed that he didn't acknowledge her. Just follow me, and I can get you set up. After a bit, Naruto found everything he wanted and decided to get a few versions of his new outfit for if he needed to do any missions at night, or whenever the situation called for at the time. His base outfit consists of dark blue A&BU style pants, black sandals, a long-sleeved black shirt with tape covering from the wrists up to just below the elbows. Arm guards cover the wrappings to add additional protection and provide a hidden blade to surprise enemies. A dark red sleeveless hoodie completes the look to provide extra protection to his torso and a way to hide his bright blonde hair when tasked with missions that require stealth. Naruto had also changed the fabric of his hitite from blue to black. He walked out of the changing room to show off the completed look to Tenten and Kakashi. "So, what do you think?" Naruto asked his two guests. Kakashi was the first to answer. "It looks good, Naruto. I'm sure that your parents would approve the change, especially that vest." Tenten tried to rid some rather inappropriate thoughts from her mind when she saw how the clothes seemed to hug his frame while still giving him a wide range of movement. "I agree. You look a lot better now that you don't look like a moving target with that bright orange jumpsuit," Tenten said while getting rid of her slight blush. Naruto noticed the blush and rubbed the back of his head, saying, "Thanks. I wanted to wear something similar to my parents, or, in the case of the hoodie, something that reminded me of my mom's hair. I'm glad that you think that they would approve." Turning to face Tenten, "I'm wondering if there's any way I can get multiple versions of this outfit, some in these colors but also some that would be suitable for nighttime operations." Tenten thought for a moment and said, "Yeah? I think we can cover all of that. Is there anything else you need help with while you're here today?" Naruto shook his head while Kakashi spoke up. "I need you to pass this on to your sensei. Just tell him that I'll owe him one." Tenten then accepted the scroll with a little bit of hesitation. Kakashi then gave his patented eye smile and told Naruto to meet him at Training Ground 3 in 2 hours. Then Kakashi shunshined to who knows where, leaving a slightly confused Naruto and Tenten. "Does he do that often?" asked Tenten, not taking her eyes off the spot where the walking scarecrow was standing. "You'd be surprised." "So how much do I owe you?" Naruto asked, changing the subject so he could finish there and complete his other task for the day before he had to meet up with his sensei. Before she could answer, a deep voice from the back sounded out, "Tenten, where are you? I need some help with this shipment of kunai." Out of the door that leads to the back came a man that towered over the young teens. One look from Naruto could tell the man had spent a lifetime as a weaponsmith from the large muscular build, and the same brown hair as the girl before him. "Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were with a customer. It's nice to meet you. My name is Heike Higurashi." "Who are you?" "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." "Nice to meet you, sir, and I'm sorry for not introducing myself earlier, Tenten. I guess I was just so focused on getting new clothes," Naruto answered the pair in a sincere tone. Heike knew who the young man was standing in front of him. The older man had heard of the young boy's rumors, but he didn't believe them because if he was right, the boy deserved to be seen as a hero. Looking at the young man standing before, Heike knew just who the boy's parents were, considering that the two came into this store so many years ago. Heike just smiled and said, "It's nice to meet you, Naruto. Welcome to my store. You are welcome here anytime. In fact, to commemorate your first time here, how about I give you a discount? Let's say 25% off." The number got two very different responses. Tenten couldn't believe that her father would give out such a significant discount to someone, especially to someone younger than her. Naruto, on the other hand, just looked on in disbelief. He had figured that the man would overcharge him like some of the other shops had done to him over the years. "If you don't mind me asking, sir, but why?" "I'm sure that you know just who I am," Naruto stated while his hand unconsciously went to his stomach. Tenten didn't understand what the blonde was talking about, but her father knew what the boy asked. Heike nodded and said, "Yes, I know who you are, and I will say that you are not what the villagers make you out to be. Plus, you remind me of some noble people who shopped here not long ago." Naruto looked at the man with slightly widened eyes. "Thank you, sir. Hopefully, I can live to the standard they had set," Naruto told the man while giving a look that said that the boy knew of his parents. "Well, in that case, if you come here for all of your shinobi tools in the future, I'm sure we can agree on a permanent discount." "How does that sound?" Heike asked the blonde, who agreed with no hesitation. "Good, well, let's get everything settled, and you can be on your way." After all the details were decided upon, Naruto bid the two farewell and left to finish his errands for the day. Tenten turned to her father and asked, "Dad, why were you so accommodating to him? He didn't seem all that special." Heike thought for a second and said, "Tenten, that boy deserves so much more than what life has given to him, and if I can do something to help, I will. Plus, his parents were good to your mother and me. I like to think that you and he would be good friends if things had been different, but life rarely turns out that way. It would help if you were friends with him. Who knows what might happen?" Heike turned and left to gather more equipment to restock the shelves. Tenten took what her father had said and decided to get to know the blonde. At least he doesn't have a stick up his ass like Niji and dresses better than Guy and Lee, Tenten thought to herself. Training Ground 3. Hours later, Naruto is at the training ground mentioned by Kakashi. Currently, he is reading over his father's taijutsu scroll. "It seems that I will have to increase my speed to get the most out of this style. I should ask Kakashi if he knows the best way to get faster. It probably wouldn't hurt to ask him some pointers on the style since he was Dad's student," Naruto mused while waiting for his sensei to appear. Kakashi soon showed up to see his new student looking over a scroll. "Yo," Kakashi said to his young pupil. What are you looking over? He then noticed a scroll on his former sensei's taijutsu. I see that you want to learn your father's taijutsu. That's good. It is, by all accounts, your birthright. Is there anything else in particular that you want to learn? There are a few things that I know that I want to learn. First is my father's taijutsu style. Second, I would like to learn my mother's kenjutsu style since she left her swords. Also, I want to start on fuinjutsu, but my parents left me all of their scrolls on the subject, so I don't have to be taught that. Mainly I need someone to look over my work to make sure I don't blow myself up. I guess that's everything unless there's anything that you want me to learn specifically, Naruto expressed to his sensei. Well, that's certainly an extensive list. I can test you in all areas, but I focus more on ninjutsu, so I will focus on training you on ninjutsu and other aspects of being a shinobi, such as infiltration and assassination. I have someone in mind to get you up to speed in taijutsu, and I can find you a proper teacher when it comes to kenjutsu. However, we will be sparring once your other teachers and I deem ready. For missions, you'll be joining some other teams so that you have an understanding of how to work in a team. Otherwise, you'll be training with either me or someone else. Do you have any questions? Kakashi said as he looked upon his charge. He noticed the glint and smirk when Naruto had asked when they would start. Kakashi grinned, although no one could see behind his mask. Kakashi then went on to help get Naruto up to speed with his physical condition and help him get used to using shadow clones for learning. Ichiraku ramen. Later that day, Naruto was sitting on a stool at his favorite restaurant, thinking over how his day had gone. From getting a decent set of clothes to receiving actual training and finally ending the day with his favorite food at his favorite restaurant, he surmised that it had been one of the best days of his short life. When he entered the small ramen stand, Tucci and Ayam had gasped once they realized that it was Naruto that had walked into the establishment. The new clothes led to Naruto filling in the two ramen chefs on everything that had happened up to that point. To say that the father and daughter were surprised would be an understatement. After a good bit of questioning on the chef's part and quite a bit of ramen on Naruto's part, the evening was over, and everyone was headed back to their respective homes. As Naruto was making his way home, he decided that he should probably have some shadow clones start reading some of the books to catch up with some of his former classmates, and become a master in fuinjutsu like his parents. Naruto knew that he was on his way to becoming a solid shinobi that would live up to his parents' standards. 1 month later, over the past month, Naruto had steadily increased not only his speed but also his strength. This improvement is due to Kakashi's regiment, and because Naruto started wearing resistance seals. Also, he began receiving some training from the foremost taijutsu expert in the village, one Meito guy. Another aspect of Naruto that had vastly improved was his mental acumen. He started using shadow clones to help him catch up with several areas of the academy where he was lacking, and then from there, he started having his clones learn various aspects of the shinobi world, ranging from the customs of the different nations to reading the bingo book that Kakashi provided. Alright, Naruto. That's enough for right now. Now I will test you to see what elemental affinity or affinities you have. If you have a wind affinity, the paper will split in half. If you have a water affinity, the paper will be soaked with water. If you have an affinity for earth, the paper will crumble to dust. If you have an affinity with fire, the paper will burn. Lastly, for lightning, the paper will crinkle into a ball. Understand? Kakashi explained to the boy as Naruto took the paper. Naruto asked, so all I have to do is pour some of my chakra into the paper, right? Kakashi nodded. Naruto did as he was told, and let his chakra flow into the paper. What happened next surprised both teacher and student. The paper in Naruto's hand began to shred into dozens of tiny pieces, with half of them becoming soaked with water, and the other half crinkling up into little balls. Well, damn, Kakashi stated bluntly. It seems that you have 3 affinities. Your wind affinity is potent. While your affinities for water and lightning aren't as strong as your wind, they are still strong in their own right. I figure you got the potent wind from both of your parents. Your lightning is from your father, while your water is from your mother. That's beneficial for you cause I have a strong lightning affinity. And while I know plenty of water and wind jutsu, they are not my primary affinities. Seriously? Asked Naruto as he just stared at the pile of shredded paper at his feet. So if you're going to help with my lightning affinity, who will help with wind and water? Kakashi pondered the boy's question and then said, well, there is only one wind user in Konoha, and that's Asuma Sarutobi. As for water, there are quite a few in the village, but I think I'll have you learn from Inoichi Yamanaka. He is proficient with water. He is also a censor, and it would be better to help cultivate that skill from someone like him. Naruto nodded and asked when he would begin that phase of his training. We'll get that set up later, but first, we have a C-rank mission. We're needed to go and clear out a bandit camp. It's about a day's travel from here. Pack for a week, and we'll be leaving in an hour. Kakashi turned to walk away but stopped and turned back to the boy. Naruto, I'm going to let you know now. You will be getting your hands dirty on this mission. We'll talk more about it later on, but I did want you to know so you can prepare mentally. Okay? The young blonde nodded and then made his way home to pack for the mission and meet up with his sensei at the designated spot. Kakashi sighed and thought, Sensei, I hope you'll be looking out for us, and I hope you and Kushina can forgive me for getting Naruto's hands dirty so young. Kakashi made his way to get ready for what would be a routine bandit removal. Although, neither he nor Naruto would know what would be waiting for them once they returned. Gates of Konoha. Naruto stood near the gates that led out of the village. He silently waited for his sensei to appear, and he was also coming to terms with what he needed to do on this mission. I'm expected to kill on this mission. Am I ready for this? Naruto mused to himself. While the young blonde would never be mistaken for a genius, he wasn't as oblivious as most people made him out to be. He understood that as a shinobi, it was expected of him to lie, cheat, and kill for the village's good. However, the theory of killing a person and putting that theory into practice are two entirely different things. While contemplating the current situation, Naruto overlooked two of his former classmates walking close by. Naruto, is that you? Asked Shikamaru, almost in disbelief that he had barely recognized the other loud blonde from their academy class. From the new clothes and the fact that Naruto was sitting still, Shikamaru couldn't believe it. Choji wasn't much better once he realized that the person sitting in front of them was Naruto. Naruto looked up and stood to greet his two friends. Hey Shika, Choji. How are you guys? I haven't seen you since team placements, Naruto said with a small smile. Choji was the first to respond. It's been good, just training and D ranks mainly. What's with the change? Not that we're complaining. As Choji gestured to Naruto's new outfit, Shikamaru muttered, troublesome. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and played off the question, oh you know. I can't exactly be a shinobi while wearing a jumpsuit that's brighter than the sun, now can I? Choji and Shikamaru could only nod as they silently agreed with the blonde. Naruto, are you ready? Asked the silver-haired Cyclops from behind the pair. The two young boys, for their part, stiffened slightly as the newcomer had appeared by them so suddenly. Hi, Kakashi-sensei. I'll see you guys later. I've got a mission, Naruto said as he stood and pulled the hood of his jacket up to hide his blonde hair. As the Jonin and his student walked out the gates towards their mission, the remaining members of Team 10. Hey guys. What's going on? Asked Ino as she looked at Shikamaru and Choji. Who was that you were talking to? Shikamaru muttered troublesome to himself while Asuma answered for the pair. That was Kakashi Hatake and his student. Kakashi is probably the strongest in the village outside the Hokage and the Sannin. In fact, for him to even be teaching someone is odd. Although if I'm right about his pupil, that kid will be more powerful than anyone in recent memory. The trio of genin just stared at their Jonin sensei incredulously. Shikamaru and Choji couldn't believe that Naruto could be that powerful, especially since he never showed anything like that while in the academy. Ino was trying to figure out who could gain such praise from her sensei, and was picked as a student by a strong shinobi. Broken out of their thoughts by their sensei. Alright, let's go grab a mission or two, and then we'll get into some training. Great. What'll be today, painting a fence or fetching groceries? Ino asked sarcastically. Then after that, our training will be Choji stuffing himself, you and Shika playing shogi, and me watching all of this happening, right? The three guys of the group could only sweat drop at the response by the mindwalker of the team as they headed towards Hokage Tower. South of Konoha, 2 days later, Kakashi and Naruto traveled southeast to a small village. Okay, Naruto. As you know, this is a C-rank mission. Our mission is to clear out a group of bandits causing problems to this village. I'm going to let you lead from here on out. The reason for this is that I want you to be able to operate in a way that is efficient but, more importantly, that also does not cause any unnecessary risk for your team once you join others for missions like this one. After all, you are my student, Kakashi stated while giving an eye smile to the younger boy. Naruto nodded at the man. The two made camp in a small clearing in the forest near the small town. While setting up traps in case a bandit wandered into their campsite, Naruto spoke, Kakashi-sensei, I'm to kill on this mission, aren't I? Kakashi knew that the boy wasn't asking a question but was making a statement. Yes, you are, Naruto. I know it seems soon for something like this, but you are shinobi now. As shinobi, we kill when needed. Naruto looked down in contemplation, and before the blonde could respond, Kakashi continued, that being said, just because we have to kill doesn't mean that we should enjoy. The moment when you start to enjoy killing was the moment when you lost your humanity. That's what your father told me before the mission when I would claim my first kill. So I'll be there for you just like he was there for me. The last bit of advice that I can give you right now is don't dwell on the kill at the moment. We will be taking a decent-sized group down, and I don't want you to freeze up. Okay? Naruto looked at the man that has become like a second older brother to the boy. Okay, Kakashi-sensei. I understand. What's the plan now? Naruto asked. Kakashi explained that the pair would track the bandits through Kakashi's dog summons. After finding where the group was camped out, the duo would watch how the group operated, and then when night came, the pair would strike when the bandits least expected. Understood. So shock and awe or slow and silent? Kakashi thought and stated, once we establish their movements, you'll be making the decisions, so it'll be up to you. I'll step in only if necessary. Got it? After hearing the plan, Kakashi thought that while the plan is relatively simple, sometimes the best plans are simple. Okay, Naruto. It's pretty simple, but there's nothing wrong with that, especially since we're only going up against bandits this time. Once we get back to the village, we can dedicate some time to learn about battle strategies and tactics. You won't always have a Nara around to help, right? Naruto nodded at the statement. The two proceeded to prepare for the night ahead to carry out their mission. Streets of Konoha. This is not how it was supposed to go, Sasuke thought as he walked through the streets. Ever the last loyal Uchiha was sent to the genin reserves, his life was drastically different from what he imagined. He failed to be placed on a team while the dobe was taken on as a student. He was receiving looks of pity from the civilians, and glances of indifference from the village's shinobi did not sit well for the young teen. Then, the fact that he had been taken in by Anbu for the attack on the dead last. Needless to say, Sasuke Uchiha was not having a good time. Since being placed in the reserves, Sasuke learned the most important lesson about being a Konoha shinobi, teamwork. It was a slow process for the young Avenger to learn to rely on other people after being alone. The teacher that had the most impact on the Uchiha was Ebisu, the private tutor for Konohamaru Sarutobi. Ebisu and Konohamaru had positively influenced the revenge-obsessed young man. Sasuke was turning into a young man worthy of inheriting the will of fire. Although, it could be worse. I could be in jail or something. Time to go train, I guess. Konoha Academy. Ichiraku enjoyed his job as an academy instructor. He enjoyed instilling the next generation with the information and skills necessary to survive in the shinobi world. Although he did have a few headaches that cropped up in the past few years, namely Naruto and Konohamaru, the two knuckleheads aside, he found tremendous satisfaction in his career. While outlining his lesson plans for the next few weeks, he heard a knock on the classroom door. Come in, Ichiraku answered while not glancing up from his paperwork. Sakura Haruno entered the room and looked at her former instructor, trying to find the right words to say. Ichiraku-sensei, I need some advice, she asked quietly. Sakura, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be with your team? Ichiraku asked as he looked up at the young girl standing at his desk. I'm actually in the reserves now, along with Sasuke. That's not why I'm here though. I've been thinking about my career as a shinobi, and I wanted to ask you what I should focus on. I know that Hinata, Kiba, and Shino, they'll be trackers. The Inu Shikacho trio is already well established for information gathering. I'm wondering what part one can fill, Sakura voiced to the Chunin. It's just, I don't know what to do now. I need advice, and you're the only one I could think to ask. Ichiraku sat there and pondered everything his former charge had just told him. Since Sasuke and she were now in the reserves, he realized that Naruto was not, which begs the question, what happened to one of his favorite students? If you don't mind me asking, what happened for you and Sasuke to be sent to the reserves since you and he were at the top of your graduating class? Also, what happened to Naruto? Ichiraku questioned the young girl. He then noticed her expression turn to one of embarrassment and shame. Well, Sakura started. She then went on to fill in Ichiraku about everything that had transpired. Ichiraku sat there and listened to her tell the story. After finishing, Sakura glanced at Ichiraku, trying to get a read on his emotions. However, she was having no such luck. Okay, Sakura. Thank you for letting me know. I guess I'll have to reach out to Naruto more often. Based on your chakra control alone, I think going into Genjutsu, or medical ninjutsu would be best. With that said, I believe that you should focus on medical ninjutsu, based on the fact of not only your chakra control but also because I'm sure that you can handle all of the knowledge needed to become a medic nin. If you want, I can ask around to see if there are any openings at the hospital to take on students, Ichiraku told the girl before him. Sakura could only nod at the advice the Chunin gave her and said to him that it would be more than acceptable. After Sakura had left the man alone, did he begin to wonder about the young blonde that had become like a younger brother? Something to ask the Hokage when I see him again, I guess, Ichiraku muttered to himself as he went back to his paperwork. Bandit camp. Later that night, Naruto and Kakashi watched the guards slowly nod off outside the bandit camp. Kakashi saw and turned to his charge. Okay, Naruto. It's time, this is your show now. I'll step in only if necessary. Got it? The silver-haired Jonin asked the boy. Naruto nodded and silently created 15 shadow clones to aid in the mission. Naruto knew that the bandits had around 15 regular bandits, and the leader from the facts gathered about the camp. The shadow clones would break off to take care of the main force, while the original Naruto and Kakashi, as backup, would take out the leader in the early morning hours. It was nearing the time to initiate the plan. Naruto had already put on his hood to better blend into the forest. Wordlessly, he gave his clones and Kakashi the signal to move out. He noticed that his clones were silently taking out the guards as he moved through the camp. He knew that once his clones were dispelled, he would receive the memories from them. To stave off the inevitable pain the memories would cause, he would wait to dispel them until after the camp was secured. As he made his way to the bandit leader's tent, he could feel his heart rate increase. He forced himself to breathe deeply. Slinking into the tent, Naruto readied himself. Suddenly, the leader woke up and shot up towards him. The leader reached out to grab the apparition that stood before his bed. Naruto, for his part, acted on instinct, swatting away the man's hand, and he plunged one of his blades in his arm guard into the man's heart. Naruto watched as a swirl of emotion showed in his victim's eyes. Anger, resentment, hopelessness, and worst of all, fear. Then, Naruto noticed that as fast as the emotion showed up, they were gone just as fast, leaving nothing but cold dead eyes staring lifelessly at the boy who hadn't even reached his teens yet. Naruto forced back the bow coming up his throat, reminding himself that he still needed to finish the mission. Then, he created a shadow clone and dispelled it quickly to relay orders to the rest of his clones. After a few minutes he was flooded with the memories of the bandits being killed one by one. He was then hit with a memory that had nearly crushed his spirit. He signed to Kakashi that the bandits were taken care of and to also follow him to another tent. As the two entered the tent, the first thing that hit the pair was the smell. The tent contained several bandits that hadn't bathed for weeks or even months. The next thing that they saw was the 4 women chained to the posts holding up the canvas. The women's ages ranged from the mid-30s to one being around Naruto's age. The shinobi had silently wished they could have done more to the bandits other than simply slitting their throats, or plunging a kunai into their hearts and brains. The duo looked over the women and noticed that they had no response different than to open their legs. Their eyes were dead, holding no life for them anymore. Kakashi motioned for Naruto to exit the tent for a discussion. Naruto obliged the older man. Naruto, Kakashi said with a tone that didn't seem to fit the man's laid-back attitude, what I'm about to say isn't easy, but it's something that needs to be done. Kakashi sighed as he tried to find the words to say. With the way those women are right now, I don't believe that there is anything that we can do other than to ease their suffering. Naruto had a feeling that this conversation was going in a direction that would not sit well with the blonde. What would that be, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked softly. Kakashi looked at the boy who had been so much like his former sensei and wife. He didn't want the boy to face the truth of what the shinobi world was like so soon, but better to know the truth too soon rather than too late. Naruto, we need to end their lives. Right now, they are no more than living puppets. For them to find peace, we must help them obtain it. Do you understand? Kakashi kneeled to look the boy in the eyes to ask the question. Naruto nodded, knowing what was being asked of him. Kakashi noticed his student's eyes harden into a resolve he hadn't seen since the Third Great Shinobi War. Okay, you don't have to be a part of this. You have more than outperformed what was expected of you tonight. I need to do this. We're shinobi, right? Naruto said while walking back toward the tent, stopping just outside of it. He expressed humorlessly, besides, what's a little more blood going to hurt? Kakashi could tell underneath the cold, steely-eyed blue of the boy he could see just a little bit of life left. The pair entered the tent to find the women had only moved to close their legs once they realized that they weren't being used. Kakashi pointed at the 2 younger women in the group. Naruto, understanding what was being said, positioned himself in front of the older of the 2. He placed his hands as if he would lean to kiss her. He released the blades on the underside of his arm guards so that they would pierce the brain stem, freeing her of the hell that she had faced. Slowly placing the young woman on the ground, he turned to the girl who looked no older than he had. Placing his hands in the same manner as the one before, he looked into the cold, dead eyes of the girl sitting in front of him. Unleashing the blades, Naruto watched what little life in the girl's eyes fade from existence. For the first time, he saw something in the eyes of one of the women. Noticing that, Naruto felt a weight that he didn't realize had been placed on his shoulders disappear. The emotion that Naruto had seen before it had faded into nothingness had been peace. Peace in knowing that she had been freed from the horrors of a life that would see no end for years. Naruto laid the girl down and shut her eyelids, lifting a soft prayer to help guide the girl's soul to the afterlife. After gathering all the bodies and equipment, Kakashi used the Katon Jutsu to set everything ablaze. As the pair watched the pile burn into nothing, Kakashi could hear the soft sobs coming from the boy, who was slowly becoming like family. He pulled Naruto into a side hug, wordlessly letting him know that it was okay to let it out. The duo stayed like that until only embers remained. The pair left as the ashes were scattered to the wind as nothing was left behind except only memories. Hokage Tower. 2 days later, Hiruzen was having a good day. He was almost through the daily amount of the accursed paperwork, which meant he was close to reading the most significant thing that his student had ever done, Ika. Just as he was reaching toward the drawer that contained his copy, Kakashi and Naruto shined into his office. Resigning that he would have to wait until later to read, he sighed and decided to light his pipe. Well, hello you two. I take it that your mission was a success. While placing his book back into his hip pouch, Kakashi stated that it was and that he would give a more detailed report later. Noticing the look in Kakashi's lone eye, Hiruzen nodded and let the two know that they could pick up their checks at the mission desk. He then excused Naruto for the next 3 days. Naruto nodded and bid the 2 older men goodbye in a manner that was far too subdued for the liking of either man. Well then, let's not waste any time. What happened? The old Hokage commanded with a tone that conveyed that he would not tolerate any of Kakashi's antics. Kakashi, for his part, complied and went into detail about the mission, everything from the moment that they left the village and their subsequent return. Sparing no details, Kakashi explained the likely reasoning for Naruto's current mood. The older man merely sighed at the report, and the information that someone that he viewed as a surrogate grandson had so much blood on his hands despite only going on one real mission so far. I take full responsibility for this, Hokage-sama. I took this mission so that Naruto could get his first kill in a somewhat safe environment. I wasn't prepared that there would be so many or for the women to be there. Kakashi expressed this to his leader, hoping that he would be understanding. Hiruzen thought for a moment and sighed. Yes, I know. You're trying to prepare him like his father prepared you. I understand. However, I would prefer that he alternate between solo and team missions. He does need to understand the value of teamwork. I understand, Hokage-sama. Is there anything else? Kakashi asked, knowing he dodged the proverbial bullet. Yes, actually. I need you and Naruto to accompany another team on a simple escort mission. The client will be ready in 3 days. The only one that will know about your involvement will be the Jonin sensei. Think of this to sharpen Naruto's skills and yours, Hiruzen stated to the younger man. Okay, who's the Jonin? Kakashi asked, already having an idea of who is leading the mission. You'll meet in 2 days. They will lead the mission unless circumstances change, which I don't expect them to. Understood? The Hokage asked. Kakashi nodded. Good, tell Naruto and let him know that when he has the chance to come to see me. It does get quite boring around now. Kakashi I smiled and the sun shined away. Hiruzen went to pull out his book when he noticed that the pile of paperwork had grown while talking with his subordinate. He cursed Minato for his ability to finish the bane of Kages everywhere. Namake's estate. Naruto entered his home and nearly collapsed on the couch in the living room. Before he could even breathe a sigh of relief, Kakashi appeared. Without moving from his current position, Naruto said, "What's going on, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi chuckled at the boy's position and stated that the two had a mission once their break was over. I want you to try and relax over the next few days. Walk around town, hang out with friends, or find a hobby. You need to get your mind focused on something else. Also, when you get a chance, go talk to the Hokage. He misses seeing you. Alright? Kakashi asked. Okay, Naruto answered. Kakashi left without saying another word. After a few more minutes, Naruto lifted himself up off the couch. Finally noticing the slight smell he was emitting, he decided to shower. After a long, overdue shower, Naruto went to his study to make some headway on his Fuinjutsu skills and read more from his parents' journal. Thank Kami that I learned shadow clones. Naruto mused. He created several clones to start with the Fuinjutsu training while he began to read some of his parents' journals. After several hours, Naruto dispelled his clones. As the memories flooded his mind, he noticed that he took to seals like a fish takes to water. Uzumaki blood for the win, Naruto quipped softly. Realizing he still had a few more hours of daylight left, he chose to walk around the village and then head to Ichiraku for dinner. Dressed in his usual shinobi attire with the hood up, he left the estate. Ichiraku, can I get 3 bowls of miso ramen? Naruto asked the unsuspecting ramen cooks. Tuchi and Ayam looked up from their food prep to notice that their favorite customer had just walked in. Naruto, where have you been? It's not like you to not show up at least once a week. Ayam said with a slight pout. After pulling off his hood, Naruto sheepishly rubbed the back of his head, saying, Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I've been really busy with training this past month. In fact, I just got back from my first C-rank mission today. Really? What happened? Tuchi asked while tending to Naruto's order. It wasn't anything special. It was only a C-rank because it was outside the village, Naruto lied, not wanting the ramen duo to worry needlessly over him. The two looked at him with concern but decided not to push the young boy. The blonde's order was quickly filled, and the trio caught up as stories were told and laughs were had. After finishing his meal, Naruto left the ramen stand content with the past few hours. While walking the streets, he passed a flower shop that looked like it had quite the selection. Remembering his promise, he entered intending to honor the women that deserved more than what they needed up with. Hi. Welcome to Yamanaka Flowers. How can I help you today? Sora Yamanaka asked. As the matriarch of the Yamanaka clan, she didn't have to work, but it gave her something to do after retiring from the shinobi corps not long after becoming pregnant with her daughter. Sora welcomed the young boy into the shop like any other customer. However, she didn't recognize him because of the hood that he was wearing. I'm looking for a few different things. I would like some flowers to lay on my parents' graves, and I would also like something to honor some people. I will be grateful if you can help me with that, Naruto said while still looking over some of the specimens on display. What can you tell me about the people you wish to honor? Sora asked, trying to get more information out of the boy. Naruto thought for a minute and said, Well, from what I've read and been told, my parents were madly in love, and no two others were more perfect for each other. For the others, I want something to signify their innocence. Sora now knew who the young man standing near was. She had been devastated to learn that her friend Kushina had passed. She had always wanted to help out her friend's son but could never find him. She wished she could have done more, but now maybe this was Kami's way of giving her a chance to make up for past regrets. The woman schooled her features and said, I may have just the thing. For the others, I recommend white lilies. They symbolize purity, but they represent grief as well. Now, I think a few white tulips with a single red rose should be placed between the two for your parents. How does that sound? I like that. Thank you. Is there anything else you recommend? The young blonde asked, more so out of politeness than anything else. Actually, there is. I assume that you have a flower bed. Sora asked. Naruto nodded in response. Well, I think you would enjoy these. She pointed out a section of flowers of varying colors and some that were two-toned. These are called bearded irises. When taken care of properly, they are incredibly hardy flowers, and they come in a wide range of colors. See any that catch your eye? Sora asked, having now finished explaining the flowers. Naruto could only stare at a flower that seemed to be calling out to him. It was a yellow and red bloom that stood about 12 inches tall. This one. I'd like this one if you don't mind, Naruto answered, finally finding his voice. How interesting, Sora mused to herself. Excellent. I've always adored that variation. In fact, this was a favorite of an old friend of mine. I'm glad to see that someone has the same taste as her. Now let's see, since this is your first time, how about half off? And I can even have someone help your new irises set up, she told the boy, who had a dumbfounded look on his face, not entirely expected to be treated so well. He nodded at the older woman and informed her that he'll be leaving on a mission in 3 days. She accepted his payment, and told him to come in again after his mission to discuss the flowers for his garden. After watching her friend's son leave with his flowers, she made a mental to slightly coax her daughter to get to know the young man. Almost as if Ino had a sixth sense, she entered the front door not long after Naruto exited. Hey Mom, who was that? He looked familiar, Ino asked her mother, who waved her off. Oh, he's the son of an old friend of mine. Today was the first time I've had the pleasure of meeting him, Sora said with a small, sad smile. Really? How come they haven't visited before? The younger blonde asked her mother, failing to notice the pained expression on her face. Well, that's because she and her husband died the night of the QB attack. Her son was left alone. No one to care for him. I'm hoping to remedy that soon. In fact, you can help with something. I'm going to need some help planting some flowers at his home once he returns from his next mission. Plus, he could always use another friend, the matriarch told her daughter, who nodded in agreement. You never did tell me his name though, Ino said while tending to some of the flowers. Where's the fun in that? Her mother said cryptically before walking off, leaving a confused Ino. Hokage Tower, 3 days later. I'm glad that you all made it here on time. Now, Kurenai, you and teammate will be the leading force for this escort, which means she is in charge. Kakashi and his apprentice will be back up, and therefore they shall remain in the background. Kakashi, you and Naruto will treat this as a form of training. Teammate is primarily a tracking unit. This will help you if you have to evade similar units later on. With all that being said, if circumstances change, Kakashi will take care over as leader of the mission. Does everyone understand? Hiruzen asked in a way that made it seem like an order. The 3 shinobi all nodded in agreement. Good, then you're all dismissed. After everyone had left, the old man sighed and hoped that he was making the right choice. Konoha Gate. Okay, both of you know the plan, so there shouldn't be any problems. You can set up right outside the gates and follow us from there. Sound good? The raven-haired woman stated to the odd duo. One looked bored and read a filthy book, much to her chagrin. While the other was listening with rapt attention. She smiled inwardly, silently thanking Kami that the boy wasn't fully turning into his smut-loving sensei. The pair nodded towards the woman and then left to set up for a simple escort mission to the Land of Waves. Although, something was telling Naruto that this mission would be anything but simple. Land of Fire. Naruto was bored. Once the client, a man named Tazuna, and teammate arrived to start the mission, the set pace was far too pedestrian for Naruto's taste. Even Kakashi found little enjoyment in the walk towards Wave, even with his little orange book. Naruto signed to his sensei, "Is it always like this with escort missions?" Kakashi nodded while adding, "At least with civilians." Naruto sighed as the group moved towards the Land of Waves at a languid pace. After a few hours, Naruto sensed 2 chakra signatures ahead. He signaled his sensei. Kakashi told his young charge not to move in unless necessary. Naruto reluctantly agreed and continued to provide overwatch to the team, unaware of the duo. The pair watched as teammate took down a couple of ex-Kuri Chunin with textbook efficiency. Impressive, thought the blonde. Naruto could see how well a team was supposed to work. He then wondered how the team would have turned out if they had all passed. Banishing that thought, Naruto listened in on the interrogation of the Kuririn, and then subsequent questioning of Tazuna. After setting up camp for the night and waiting for Kurenai's role in the night watch rotation to start, she, Kakashi, and Naruto could discuss the best course of action. Kakashi, you heard everything from the Demon Brothers and Tazuna. What do you think? You have the most experience out of us, Kurenai asked the silver-haired Cyclops. Kakashi thought for a moment and stated, I think we should go back to Konoha. 1. This is higher than a standard C-rank escort mission. 2. We don't know who else will be waiting for us once we get to Wave. I feel whoever it is, they will be a Jonin rank, probably from Kiri based on the Demon Brothers. Kakashi paused to let what he said to sink into his 2 compatriots. Seeing the other 2 acknowledge what he said, Kakashi continued, however, if we don't continue, we would knowingly turn our backs on people who need our help. After a few minutes of silence, Kakashi sighed and said, I refuse to do that. So we'll carry on with the mission, but we will be making some changes. First, Naruto and I will go ahead on the original route into Wave. Kurenai, you and your team will escort Tazuna to the border, and then you'll take a different way inland. We don't need you and the client to be caught in the crossfire if you somehow catch up. I understand. We'll continue on a few hours after you 2 leave. That should give you time to scout ahead. Plus I'm not sure Tazuna will be ready until mid-morning anyway, Kurenai said to the silver-haired Jonin. Here, you'll need this once you get into Wave. It's a map of the village there. Tazuna's house is marked on it as well. She handed the small scroll to Kakashi, who placed it into a pocket on his vest. Thanks, Kakashi stated. Turning to his ward, he said, Naruto, be ready to move in an hour. We will pick up this pace and hopefully head off any opposition that may be lying in wait. Understood? Naruto nodded. Good. Go get ready, Kakashi instructed the young boy. Kakashi, the raven-haired beauty spoke, are you sure about this? It's not that I don't trust your judgment, but, Kakashi looked at the woman and said, no, I'm not, but we can't sit back and watch from the sidelines on this one. Plus, I'm sure your team would agree. True, but my team isn't the only genin here, Kurenai responded, leaving the unspoken question hanging in the air. I know, but Naruto can handle himself. I'm sure of it. Kakashi turned to walk back to where he and Naruto had set up camp for the night. Before leaving, Kakashi turned to look at the fresh jonin and said, besides, he is his parents' kid after all. Kakashi left, leaving a confused Kurenai pondering what the Cyclops could know about the boy's family. Land of Wave. The duo made into Wave and are currently scouting out the surrounding area. Alright, Naruto, we don't know what or who we could be up against, but we can expect Gato to hire a relatively skilled missing nin with the kind of money that he has at his disposal. Be on guard, got it? Kakashi said. Got it, Naruto said, but before he could continue, Kakashi-sensei, I can sense a large chakra signatures 2 miles southwest of us. It feels as large as yours does. Good, let's go, Kakashi said with Naruto following behind. Land of Fire. Team 8. After packing up their camp, Team 8 and Tazuna huddled together to discuss the next course of events. Alright, Tazuna, Kurenai said while turning towards the bridge builder, we will continue with the mission. However, the mission is upgraded to a B rank because of the missing nin. I have already sent a scroll back to the Hokage in Konoha. At some point, you will have to pay the difference between the missions. Also, he has sent backup to aid us. Kurenai-sensei, are you sure about this? This mission seems to be a little more than what a rookie genin team can handle, stated Hinata, a timid girl that wears a cream-colored jacket that sports fur around the cuffs and hem. She also wears navy blue pants, and keeps her hitai loosely around her neck. I would have to agree with Hinata-sensei. This seems to be reaching a point that may be out of our depth, said Shino, a stoic young man that wears an oversized jacket with a high, upturned collar. He also sports a pair of dark round sunglasses. He wears a pair of dark brown pants with blue sandals. His hitai is worn around his forehead. Come on guys, we got this. Plus, she said we'll have backup, not that we need it, Kiba said with an abundance of confidence in his voice. He wears dark grayish pants and a gray, hooded fur-lined coat, with the hood usually placed on his head, over an apparent plate of armor, and a fishnet undershirt with his hitai covering his forehead and blue sandals. That's enough. Hinata, Shino, I appreciate the concern, but there will be times that your missions may not be what's entailed in the mission details. Plus, I know the backup team, the strongest jonin in the leaf, and his apprentice is a part of it. We'll have nothing to worry about, the raven-haired beauty said, trying to ease the tension in 2 of her genins. The third was starting to become even brasher since the start of the mission. Kiba, while confidence is necessary, it can quickly become arrogance, which could result in the death of you and your team. Try to keep your ego in check. Hi, Kurenai-sensei, the 3 genin responded to the older woman. She motioned everyone to resume the trek towards Wave and the potentially life-threatening situation there. Little did they know that the battle for Wave had already begun. Land of Wave. Team Kakashi. Why does it feel like this will happen on every mission I take out of the village? Thought Naruto as he limped towards the bridge builder's house while 2 of his clones carried Kakashi. If so, my life will be one hell of a shitshow. Well, it seems like your life will be quite the adventure, don't you think? Mused Kakashi as he was carried. I feel like that's going to be a notable understatement. Although I guess my life will never be boring, Naruto answered his sensei while the pair made their way to Tazuna's house. Not long after the duo made it into the Land of Wave, they found the missing nin on Gato's payroll. The pair decided to face the rogue shinobi and found that their opponent was Zabuza Momochi. As the 2 sides did battle, Naruto found that Zabuza lived up to his moniker of Demon of the Hidden Mist, and deserved to belong to the 7 swordsmen of the Hidden Mist. The battle raged as Kakashi and Zabuza confronted each other, with Naruto supporting his sensei. Zabuza was a mighty enemy and nearly had the duo dead to rights. Still, Naruto, using shadow clones and a Fuma Shuriken, was able to give Kakashi an opening to incapacitate the rogue mist shinobi. However, before Kakashi could administer the killing blow, a pair of Saban appeared and planted themselves into Zabuza's neck. A masked ninja showed up beside the now-down demon. The 2 could only speculate on the identity of the shinobi but knew that they belonged to the hunter-nin of the mist. Before either Kakashi or Naruto could check for a pulse, the hunter-nin thanked the 2 and disappeared with Zabuza. These events lead to where the heroic duo now find themselves, navigating towards the self-proclaimed super bridge builder's house. Following the map that Kurenai had handed them before departing from the Land of Fire, the tandem stood on the client's front porch. Just before Naruto could knock to announce their presence, the door slammed open with Kiba and his partner Akamaru poised to attack. Dog breath, wait. We're the backup team, Naruto said before the boy, and his dog could cause more harm to the dynamic duo. Naruto? Kiba asked quizzically. Giving a signal to his dog to stand down, Kiba couldn't even recognize his former classmate. Sorry about that. We didn't recognize the scent when you first showed up. We didn't want to take any chances. Get in here. You both look like shit. Really? You don't say? Naruto responded with a sarcastic edge to his voice. Carrying his sensei into the house, he met the remaining members of Team 8. Nodding to the others, he asked if there was a place to rest. There's another room upstairs. You can use it while you stay. A young woman with long blue hair. She was wearing a short-sleeved pink shirt and a long blue skirt. I'm sorry, but I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Tsunami. I'm Tazuna's daughter. Thank you, Tsunami. If you'll excuse us, we desperately need some rest. Kurenai-sensei, we can talk in a little while, right? Naruto asked, although if one was listening closely to what was said, as Kurenai was, it was not so much a question as it was a statement. Kurenai nodded as she and the others watched Naruto and his sensei retreat upstairs to rest. Unknown to the others, a certain pale-eyed girl could barely hold herself together once she saw the young blonde in his new attire. Naruto-kun, I can't believe he's here, Hinata thought with significant blush while she poked her 2 index fingers together. Several hours later, after the pair rested for a few hours, Naruto was good as new, thanks to the fuzzy little fox in his stomach. Kakashi still had a ways to go considering he had used his implanted Sharingan too much during the encounter with Zabuza. However, he was awake and able to sit up and speak to others. Kakashi-sensei, something isn't sitting right with me, Naruto stated bluntly. What's that, Naruto? Responded Kakashi. Something about that hunter-nin. I thought that the hunter-nin from Kiri was supposed to cut off the head and destroy the body on the spot. Naruto spoke as the issue was gnawing at him. Good, I wondered if you picked up on that, Kakashi replied to the young blonde. Yes, hunter-nin are supposed to destroy the body and take the head back to their village. It stands to reason that whoever that person was, they are in league with Zabuza. Oh, that's just great. That's just fantastic. What's next? I'll have to fight the Sannin, quipped Naruto to no one in particular. Unknown to the pair, a blonde woman in a casino let out a sneeze that cost her quite a bit of money. A pale man sneezed while experimenting on a young boy, and a white-haired man let out a sneeze while peeking at a women's hot spring, alerting all the women to the pervert. The Sannin had simultaneous thoughts of beating the person talking about them. Naruto received a shiver down his spine and thought, well, that's not foreboding. Anyway, what's the plan, sensei? Asked the boy. As Kakashi was about to answer his cute little genin, Kurenai walked in. Perfect, now we can discuss everything without having to repeat. Firstly, Naruto and I need to recover. We'll have around 2 weeks before running to Zabuza or his accomplice again. Kurenai, I suggest you start training your team in some elemental jutsu. I can assist you in that endeavor. Naruto, once you feel up to it, I want you to create some clones to scout out the area to look for Gato's base of operations. The trio continued to discuss the course of events for the next 2 weeks. The following 2 weeks were going to be trying times for the group of Konoha shinobi, especially for one young blonde. 2 days had passed before Kakashi could move around with the help of crutches. He and Kurenai were standing out in a clearing near the house with the genin of Team 8. Alright, you 3, today we're going to focus on some elemental jutsu. Hopefully it won't come down to that, but it would be better to have something other than clan techniques. Now, Kakashi here will assist me since he knows various jutsus for each element. Now each of you take a piece of paper and channel your chakra into it. We'll let you know what your element is accordingly. Okay? Kurenai instructed. The 3 genin did as instructed and poured chakra into their individual pieces of paper. The various slips had different reactions. Kiba's paper crumbled into dust, Shino's paper burst into flames, and Hinata's paper crinkled into a ball. Well, that's interesting but not entirely unexpected. I can help Shino with a few fire jutsus, while Kakashi can help with Kiba and Hinata since he is well versed in earth and lightning jutsu. Now, are there any questions? Kurenai asked. Yes, sensei. Where's Naruto at? Shouldn't he be here too? Asked Kiba, with Akamaru barking in agreement. Kakashi spoke up for the first time. Well, Naruto knows his affinities already, plus he is being tasked with another assignment. You can ask me later. Let's get started, shall we? Tazuna's bridge. While the others were busy with training, Naruto watched over Tazuna and the other bridge builders at work. I have to say I thought you were just some old drunkard. Now I think you're pretty cool for an old drunkard, stated the young shinobi with a straight face, not that the old man noticed. Kid, you can be a bit of an ass, you know that? Tazuna said. Naruto simply shrugged. At least I'm honest about it. By the way, how long until you're done with the bridge? Tazuna thought and said about a month or so if no one else quits on us. Why do you ask? How would you like some help? The boy asked cryptically. Tazuna scoffed. What are you going to do, kid? Pull some workers out of your ass or something. Or something, Naruto said with a slight grin while making his signature hand sign. I know, right? Plus, they can walk on vertical surfaces so they can inspect the underside of the bridge if you want. Kid, you might have just single-handedly saved this country, Tazuna said with awe and respect. Naruto gave the man a slight but genuine smile. After Naruto's clones were sent off, the original decided to focus on upping his proficiency with jutsu for his primary affinity, Zabuza's hideout. Zabuza was lying down on his bed, recuperating from the fight he was engaged in with the infamous copy Nin. His charge was looking after his wounds when both heard the voice of a rat. My. It seems that a bunch of tree huggers nearly took out the great demon of the mist. Maybe I should have hired someone else for this, Gato said with a sneer. He was a short man with shaggy brown hair and sported a pair of small, circular black glasses. He wears a black suit with a purple tie, a yellow shirt underneath, and closed-toed shoes. He was flanked by his 2 bodyguards, Sora and Waraji. Gato. I'd be more careful if I were you. Those tree huggers can be pretty ruthless. Plus, do you really want to insult someone that can kill you with a flick of their wrist? Zabuza stated. Gato laughed. I seriously doubt that you are in any position to threaten me. Zabuza smirked underneath the bandages. Who said anything about me? As Zabuza said this, 4 saban flew from the fake hunter-nin's hands with great speed and accuracy. 3 saban grazed against the intruder's cheeks while the 4th embedded into Gato's median nerve, rendering his arm virtually useless. You bastard! Gato screamed in pain as he clutched his arm. The 2 bodyguards were readying themselves to attack when the young shinobi spoke. I would walk away. Otherwise, I'll aim for something that will leave permanent damage. Gato raised his undamaged hand to signal his guards to stop. Fine, but I'm bringing in someone else to assist, which is not up for debate. I want every one of them dead. Fine, just make sure that we get paid for this, Zabuza stated. Once Gato and his guards left, the younger of the 2 spoke. Zabuza-sama, are you sure it's wise to trust the little gremlin? Zabuza responded, yes, I'm sure, Haku, and take off that mask. You know I can't stand looking at it. The now named Haku removed their mask to reveal a young woman with dark brown eyes. She has long black hair and pale skin. If you say so, what's the plan? First I recover, then we'll connect with however Gato brings in to help. Once the leaf shinobi and the bridge builder are dead, we'll take out Gato and anyone else that stands in our way. Remember Haku, we are only doing this to aid in the rebellion of the Mizukage. Zabuza said as he laid his head down to rest. Haku nodded as she went to her room to change into her civilian clothing. She made preparations to go out to retrieve herbs to aid her master's recovery. Tazuna's house. 2 days later, Tazuna and Naruto walked into the house while discussing what needed to be done for the bridge to be completed. They found Tsunami and Hinata preparing dinner, Kakashi reading his book, while Shino and Kiba were arguing, although one could not tell if they watched Shino and his stoic demeanor. Perfect timing, you two. Dinner is ready, Tsunami said as she placed the last dish down. Great, thanks Tsunami-san, Naruto said as he sat down. The others following not long after. As the dinner carried on, the table occupants ate in relative silence. That was when Tsunami's son, Inari, spoke up for the first time since the leaf shinobi arrived. Why do you try so much? Gato is going to kill all of you. Tsunami scolded her child. Inari, that's enough. No. Let him talk. I want to know why he thinks Gato is going to kill us, Naruto asked with an even tone. You all sit there with smiles and act like nothing is wrong. Don't you know the strong will kill the weak? Especially you Blondie, you act like you don't have a care in the world. I'd hate to be like you, not knowing how hard life can be, Inari berated the shinobi present. Kurenai and Tsunami were about to speak when Kakashi held up his hand to silence them. Naruto contemplated for a moment then said, well, thank Kami that we're not alike because I'd hate to be a whiny little bitch like you. Everyone sat there wide-eyed, mouths agape, except for Kakashi, at the blonde's response to the young boy. Naruto continued, you sit here in a lovely house with people that love you, and you cry about how tragic your life is. Well, boo fucking who for you. You say that you would hate to be like me. You don't realize how right you are. You wouldn't have lasted a day in my life. In fact, here, take this. Naruto pulled out a kunai and placed it on the table. If your life is so miserable, take this and slice open your wrists. I guarantee you that 2 of the people at this table would be devastated. That's 2 more people than I had when I tried. Naruto finished his rant at the boy, who was left with tears streaming down his face. The blonde thanked the mother for the meal while he left, stating he would train. The people gathered around the table could only stare at their plates in disbelief. Kakashi sighed. Tsunami, Tazuna, I'm sorry for my student's outburst. To put it simply, he hasn't had the best life. While that's not an excuse, I hope that you can understand. I'll talk with Inari once he's calmed down. Kurenai reached over to pick up the kunai when she noticed that it was a training one. Kurenai-sensei, his life couldn't have been that bad, asked her brash student in a far too subdued tone for anyone's liking. Kakashi answered, Naruto has lived a life that would have broken anyone else. We can't give you anything specific, but know that he is far stronger than people realize. As they sat around finishing their meals, a myriad of emotions filled them. They could feel the pain and sorrow in his voice. For some, it was sympathy. For others, despair that one so young could have gone through so much. However, all of them held respect for the blonde to continue to move forward after everything. Inari was sitting on the dock, looking out over the water. He was thinking about what Naruto had said to him when he heard someone ask if they could sit down. The boy said nothing as the man with the mask sat beside him. You need to understand that Naruto grew up without a father like you. Until about a month ago, he didn't even know who his parents were. The truth is he's had a rougher past than you, but I have never seen him cry or complain. In fact, I didn't realize he had ever had those kinds of thoughts with the way he acts. At some point in his life, he probably got sick and tired of crying, Kakashi said to the boy so that the young one could understand the blonde hero. That fucking brat, Naruto mumbled as he punched a tree, thinks he's the only one with problems. Naruto took a deep breath and proceeded to look for a clearing where he could cut loose. After about 10 minutes, Naruto found a good spot. "Oh yeah, this will work," he said lowly. He proceeded to create 100 clones. The original raised his hands and signaled his clones to bring it on. As he finished off the first round, he made another 100 clones. The process continued well into the following morning. Throughout the night, the bridge builder's house residents could hear cursing and explosions. The sun was peeking over the trees as our blonde hero slept off the previous night's events. Haku saw the blonde Konoha shinobi sleeping and decided on the best course of action. She had a stray thought of killing the boy in his sleep but chose to wake him and feigned concern over his well-being. Haku walked over to the boy, that was just 2 years younger than her, and started to wake him gently. Shaking his shoulder, Haku announced her presence by saying, "Wake up, you'll catch a cold if you stay out here." Naruto was stirred from his sleep when he felt himself being roused. He began to blink to drive the rest from his eyes. As his vision became clear, he saw a beautiful young woman no more than a few years older than himself being framed by the rising sun. "Angel," the boy said in a low voice. Haku, barely hearing the word, blushed at the boy's declaration. Fighting down the blush, she said, "Why are you out here sleeping in the forest?" Naruto, now thoroughly awakened, noticed a light dusting of pink on the woman's face. "Sorry about that. It's just I'm not used to being woken up like that." While saying this, he was fighting his blush from forming. "To answer your question, I was out here training last night, and I kind of got carried away." "Why are you out here so early?" Haku looked around the clearing for the first time, and she noticed that it looked more like a scene from a battle instead of a training session. "Right," she said as she thought that if this were the result of training, she would hate to see how he would be in a tough fight. Holding up the basket in her hands, she continued, "I was out trying to find herbs to help heal someone close to me when I saw you." Realizing that the teen in front of him bared no ill will, he offered his assistance. Although, something about her seems familiar, Naruto mused to himself. "I don't want to impose," she answered honestly. Naruto waved it off. "It's no trouble at all. What kind of person would I be if I didn't offer to help a beautiful woman?" Haku looked at him as if he grew a second head, as if he didn't understand the blunt manner in which he spoke. "That would be helpful. I'm sorry. I miss your name." "I'm Haku." "Naruto," he said as he pulled down his hood, allowing Haku to get a good look at his face. The young teen took in the blonde's features. She noticed his hair was blonde and spiky and the 3 whisker marks adorning each cheek. However, what really captured her attention was the deep cerulean blue of his eyes. She felt as if she was staring into an ocean that was calm on the surface. But if one looked deep enough, one could see the undercurrents of power. Not only that, she could also sense pain, a kind of pain that she was all too accustomed to. She was so lost in his eyes that she failed to hear him. Finally hearing the blonde, she responded, "My name is Haku." "You've already said that," the blonde teased. "Well, should we get started?" Naruto asked. "Although, you may have to point out the right herbs. I'm not familiar with the ones in wave." "Of course," she responded, completely ignoring his teasing. The pair set off to collect the necessary herbs. While collecting the plants, the two discussed topics from favorite foods to dreams of the future. "So you want to be Hokage? Why is that?" Naruto thought and said, "Well, at first, it was so that the people in my village could acknowledge me, but lately, I don't know if I want that anymore. At least, being Hokage for that reason alone." "Do you have people you care about?" the young brunette asked. Naruto smiled slightly. "I do. There may not be many, but I would do anything for them." "That's good. I've always believed that a person truly becomes strong when they have someone to fight for," the ice user said. The blonde looked at the girl and smiled brightly. "Haku-chan, has anyone ever told you how great you are?" For what it's worth, the girl could only shake her head while hiding the redness on her face. "Anyway, it looks like you have enough herbs." Haku looked down at her basket, saying, "It seems I do. Thank you for the assistance, Naruto-kun." She hid her disappointment at the thought of not seeing the blonde again. After a pregnant pause, Naruto asked Haku-chan, "Would you like to meet up tomorrow maybe?" The boy noticed the confusion on her face and continued, "Well, I had so much fun talking with you and stuff that I thought maybe you'd like to do it tomorrow." "I would like that very much, Naruto-kun." "I'll see you tomorrow," she said. Then turning away, she walked out of the clearing, leaving the blonde alone and unaware of the uncertain feelings growing inside her. For his part, Naruto could only watch as the girl he grew so close to in just a few hours agreed to an impromptu date. However, despite the feelings of uncertainty concerning her familiar presence, he could tell that, in a way, she was like him. He could see the pain in her eyes when certain subjects were brought up. He left the clearing to find the others to discuss the following week's plans, unaware that what he was feeling in his chest was the budding seeds of love. After returning to the house and calming everyone's worries, the shinobi discussed what would happen the following week. The group would split up into different groups. One group would train while the other would watch over the bridge and its builders. Throughout the following week, each genin made decent progress concerning the elemental jutsu. Kiba was able to form a proper earth-style wall and was working on using the earth fist to help supplement his taijutsu style. Shino was able to progress with flame bullet jutsu and wall of flames jutsu, similar to Kiba's earth wall. Hinata was able to use the lightning ball jutsu and, because of her chakra control, was able to channel lightning chakra to her hands to supplement her gentle fist. However, she could only use this for at most a minute before the lightning nature started to mess with the nerves in her hands. Naruto made the most significant leap, mainly due to his usage of shadow clones. Not only was he able to make progress with his nature chakra exercise, but he was able to learn 1 or 2 jutsu from each element. Despite the time spent training, he spent even more of it with Haku. The two had discovered that they had similar pasts, both hated for something that was outside of their control. Not only had the duo grown closer emotionally but also physically. It started when the two sat beside each other underneath a tree. They had fallen asleep from being so relaxed in each other's presence. When the couple awoke, it took several minutes to settle down their blushes and look at each other again. Afterward, Haku decided to sit between Naruto's legs and lay her back against his chest. They would spend whatever time they could with each other. Both are unaware that they knew who the other was. Haku had known since the first day. Naruto realized a few days after that Haku was the fake hunter-nin. They both knew they should say something, but they couldn't bring themselves to say anything for fear of what might happen. It was the day before the supposed meeting between the groups of shinobi. The two young lovers were in their usual meeting spot in their predetermined seating arrangement. Naruto played with Haku's hair with one hand while holding her hand with his other. Both were working up the courage to say what needed to be said but were afraid of the repercussions that would surely follow. Haku-chan, Naruto said with as much bravery as possible. Something will happen tomorrow. I'm almost positive, but I'm sure you knew that, Hunter-san. Not responding to the intentional use of the disguise she used when they first met, she simply asked, when did you know? I put it together a few days ago. I'm more upset that I didn't figure it out sooner, the blonde answered truthfully. Haku chuckled humorlessly. Of course, you would be upset about that. The two sat in silence for a few more minutes before she continued. So, what happens now? Naruto sighed. We both know that someone is not making it out tomorrow. I've done all I can to find Gato and his hideout but no such luck. However, what happens tomorrow is a problem for our future selves. The boy stopped playing with her hair to reach under her chin to turn her so that she could look into his eyes. He continued, as much as I don't want tomorrow to happen and you being caught in the crossfire, we chose our sides. Now we have to live with the fallout. Haku looked deeper into his deep blue orbs. You're right. But as you said, that's a problem for our tomorrow's selves. She kissed his cheek and laid back against his chest, content that they still had a few more hours before they would be on opposite sides of a battle that would leave most with wounds that wouldn't be quickly healed. Gato's hideout. It took you long enough to show up. Now I want you to take out whoever is left after Zabuza and those Konoha shinobi fight tomorrow. Understand? Gato said with an edge to his voice that gave no room for hesitation. The man that stood in front of the gremlin's desk nodded, adding, don't worry. I can take care of anyone left over, especially since I have this. He lifted what looked like a sword handle, and a blade of pure electrical energy manifested within a moment. The man smirked as the sword lit up his face. Gato simply returned the smirk with one of his own as the two settled the details for the next day. Tazuna's house. The feeling throughout the house was one of trepidation and apprehension. Everyone knew that today was the day that decided the fate of the Land of Wave. While everyone had no clue what would happen that day, most would agree that they would not leave unscathed. As the shinobi and Tazuna were trekking towards the nearly complete bridge, Naruto decided to leave several of his shadow clones to watch over Tsunami and Inari. Naruto, Kakashi said, while Kurenai and I are taking on Zabuza, you'll be in charge of the rest of the genin. I know that it's not ideal, but you have more experience than others despite how limited it might be. Naruto looked at his sensei and nodded. He was already formulating ways to ensure that his team survives and how to make sure Haku does as well. Despite the remedial lessons and one-on-one training, Naruto was not that much for planning. However, he could give some tacticians a run for their money in the heat of battle. Kakashi noticed the pensive look on the boy's face and sighed. He knew what was eating at the boy, and he couldn't help but be worried about the outcomes of today's events. Naruto had told him the night before about the occurrences leading up to today. He understood how the boy could form a bond with someone quickly despite being enemies. Kakashi thought back to the rest of the conversation from the previous night. Flashback. Kakashi, can we talk about something in private? Naruto asked. Sure, Naruto. Let's go outside. Kakashi answered and began to walk outside with the boy following not too far behind. Okay, what's on your mind? Kakashi asked. The blonde then began to describe the events that led up to this point, including the attachment that the two young teens made with each other. Kakashi sat there and listened to the story in its entirety. He leaned his back up against a tree and thought. After what seemed like an eternity to Naruto, Kakashi finally spoke. Naruto, I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure what I would do if I were in your place. I know that in battle, someone always dies. Whether the person is on our side or not, no one knows. I saw more than enough of that in the last war. I'm not going to tell you what to do or anything like that. I will say this, though. Those who break the rules are scum. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Regardless of what happens tomorrow, I know you'll make the right choice. You are your parents' child, after all. Naruto watched as Kakashi left him alone with his thoughts. Slowly, he began to walk back to the house to rest up. He knew the following day would be long, and he hoped that he could pull off the impossible. Flashback end. Kakashi had faith that Naruto would make the right choice, although sometimes the right choice isn't always the clear choice. As the group reached the bridge, they stumbled upon a scene that seemed to be reminiscent of a nightmare. Bodies scattered, both alive and dead. The shinobi formed a defensive perimeter around Tazuna. As the group got into position, a heavy mist rolled into the area. "Remember the plan," Kakashi stated. The others nodded. Naruto began to form hand signs and performed futon, great breakthrough to remove the mist encroaching the bridge. "A wind user, huh?" Zabuza's voice came out of the mist on the far side of the bridge. "Your student is full of surprises, Kakashi. You ain't seen nothing yet, Zabuza," Kakashi said as he gave out the sign for the group to move. The two senseis rushed off and left the genin on their own. "Shino, you're with me. We'll be taking on the accomplice," Naruto ordered despite not liking how he had to identify the person he was growing quite close to. "Kiba, Hinata, you two will be guarding Tazuna. Watch out, and keep your heads on a swivel." The others agreed, knowing that the blonde was in charge with the two jonin indisposed. While the two Konoha jonin faced off against Zabuza, the genin carried out their orders. Naruto and Shino made their way further towards the far side of the bridge when suddenly, Haku appeared. "Shino, be careful. She's fast and is capable of using Hayaton. Understood?" Naruto ordered his fellow genin. Shino arched an eyebrow at the vital information of their opponent but chose not to comment, making a mental note to file away any questions for later. He nodded to the boy that has grown since their time at the academy. As the two readied themselves, Haku silently wished she didn't have to face the boy that started to worm his way into her heart slowly. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun," Haku thought as a lone tear fell down her cheek. Shino made the first move by releasing some of his hive to drain Haku's chakra. The Kikaichu were quickly sent off to siphon off his opponent's chakra. Naruto reached into his weapons pouch for kunai and threw them at the ice user. Haku retreated from the insects and kunai and started to form one-handed hand seals. Suetun, 1,000 flying water needles of death. Haku sent several samban made of water toward the two Konoha genin, forcing the two to avoid the numerous needle-like projections. Naruto moved to the side to prevent the jutsu from connecting. Then, he made several clones to help deflect the water samban away from Shino and himself. The bug user flashed through hand seals to set up a katon, wall of flames. However, he couldn't set the wall in time to avoid all of the samban and received two to his arm, rendering it useless. He winced in pain, saying, "Naruto, I cannot assist you fully." "Why?" "Because one of my arms has been rendered useless at the moment." Naruto merely nodded. The blonde took a quick glimpse of the fight between the Konoha jonin and the Rouge Kiri-nin. The two were battling in close combat, Zabuza with his sword and Kakashi with a kunai. Kurenai, however, was nursing a wound to her leg and trying to provide support to her comrade. Turning back to his battle, Naruto prepared to engage Haku in close quarters. The two rushed towards each other. Naruto aimed his right fist at the ice user's face. Haku deflected the attack and tried to counter it with a strike of her own. However, Naruto responded too quickly with a strike to her midsection that was only a glancing blow due to Haku's reflexes. The exchange of punches and kicks lasted for several more minutes. Realizing that she would be unable to win a straight taijutsu match, Haku retreated. Forming hand seals to use Hayaton, ice needles, she forced the blonde to retreat and tried to reflect with a pair of kunai and several clones. Shino, for his part, tried to snipe Haku from a distance with kunai and shuriken, but the ice user proved to have incredible reflexes. Shino's bugs also proved not to be as effective due to the cold nature of Haku's attacks. The battle between the young ill-fated would-be lovers continued until they stood several feet apart, breathing heavily. "You are pretty good, Naruto-kun," Haku started while still behind her mask. "However, I believe it's time to finish this." "I agree," Naruto said while adding Haku-chan softly. The two began to weave hand seals for respective jutsus. Naruto uses Raitun, electromagnetic murder, to subdue his opponent. Haku responded with Hayaton, demonic mirroring ice crystals. As the Raitun jutsu collided with the ice mirror, the force of the collision knocked the two further apart. Naruto glanced up from his kneeling position to see Haku do the same. "I guess I shouldn't be all that surprised," thought Naruto. "Hold on, what's that?" Before Naruto and Shino could act, Haku disappeared into an ice mirror. "Shino, fall back to Tazuna and the others," Naruto ordered. Then he left to follow Haku's chakra signature, not giving Shino a chance to respond. Our blonde intrepid young hero followed the signature as fast as he could when it suddenly stopped. Arriving at the scene where his sensei was fighting Zabuza, Naruto came to a dead stop. What Naruto saw would be something he would never forget. Haku impaled by a sword made of pure lightning. She was standing in front of Zabuza as he was held in place by several dogs wearing Konoha headbands. Zabuza looked as if he wanted to rip the newcomer to shreds, with Naruto not being that far off. Kakashi crouched in front of the downed Kurenai as he held a kunai in a reverse grip. The two Konoha jonin were looking slightly worse for wear. However, what surprised him was the addition of the man that held the sword that had pierced Haku's chest. He stood at an average height with green hair with a Hittite on his forehead. He wore a sleeveless gray and black jumpsuit with black shinobi sandals. At this point, the blonde had begun to see nothing but red. Seeing Haku impaled, Naruto moved like a vengeful spirit and grabbed the back of the man's head, unleashing the hidden blade to end the pitiful man's life. As he threw the body away and was about to lash out at the next person who moved, he heard a voice filled with pain and regret. "Naruto-kun," Haku softly said while reaching out to him, "come here." As his anger began dissipating, Naruto kneeled next to her, and he could feel the tears threatening to fall. Why? Was all he could ask as he watched the girl that was, in a way, so much like him growing up. Because Naruto-kun, Haku started, I would do anything for the people I care about, you included. Then why would Naruto started to say before Haku placed a finger on his lips? I did it because he needed my protection. However, please do something for me before I pass, Haku said while looking at her would-be lover in his deep blue eyes. Staring back at her, he replied, anything. Kiss me and hold me till I am no longer of this world, Haku said. I want the last I experienced to be with you one final time. The only response was Naruto gently moving her to where he could lean down to cup her face in his hands and kiss her. The kiss itself didn't last long, however, it felt like a lifetime for the two young teens. The others couldn't understand what was truly happening in front of them. Zabuza was wondering why the boy was showing such affection for his charge. Kakashi was trying to figure out how his student knew the apprentice of his opponent, while having a stray thought of how his pupil was like his father when it came to foreign, female shinobi. Kurenai was wondering why Naruto was kissing an enemy, having just awakened. For the others, they felt confused at the scene before them. However, one was feeling something else with that being broken-hearted. As the kiss ended, Haku started to say, Naruto-kun, I want you to know that I low dash. She was interrupted by the sound of maniacal laughter coming from the other side of the bridge. Well, would look at this. It seems like you are more of a puppy than a demon, Gato sneered at the battered group on the bridge. It seems I was right in hedging my bets. What are you talking about? Zabuza yelled at the shorter man. I was going to betray you and that little bitch after this was all said and done, Gato said, not realizing the temperature was dropping. He continued, in fact, the plan now is to kill all but the women. They'll make fine additions to my stable, including your lovely daughter. However, I can see that your little lapdog is dead. Such a shame since she would have been fun to break. Oh well, boys. Go ahead and kill them. Keep the women alive, and you can have fun with the dead one. As the group of thugs started to move toward the shinobi, a wave of ki erupted from the team kneeling next to his fallen angel. Rest easy, Tenchi. They'll never touch you, Naruto softly spoke as he gave one more kiss to Haku as she expired not long after the reprehensible little man started talking. Closing her eyes and laying her gently on the ground, he stood and faced the group of thugs threatening not only his friends and sensei but also someone who would become his beloved. The next thing that happened was the stuff of nightmares. Naruto grabbed two kunai from his weapons pouch at the small of his back. Then, in a burst of speed, he rushed toward the opposition before any of the others could stop him. As he cut a bloody path through his enemy, only the jonin could track his speed. The lasting image of what the thugs saw was what seemed to be a blood-stained wraith that had the most peculiar eyes. The appearance of eyes appeared to be of 3 different colors. Blue on the outer edge, purple in the middle, and the innermost ring was blood red. After several minutes, the team was covered in blood though none was his. He walked through the blood-soaked bridge toward the mastermind of all that was wrong in Wave and why his angel lay dead. Grabbing the man by his jacket, Naruto looked at the man and began to question him. So you're the man that's caused so much trouble. You are just as pathetic as I imagined you to be. Now you will answer my questions, or I'll show you what a true demon is, got it? Gato did all he could so as not to soil his pants. What did you want to know? Good choice, Naruto stated. He then began to grill the man about everything, how he got started in Wave to the location of his base of operations. After gaining all pertinent information out of his captive, Naruto began to muse out loud about what to do with him. Wait! I thought you said you would let me go, Gato screamed at the teen. Naruto, for his part, could only laugh. After a minute he said, I never said such a thing. You will face judgment for your actions. It depends on whether your punishment is carried out by the people of this town or me. Gato could only tremble in fear as he eyed the blonde. The teen stared back towards Tazuna, who simply shook his head, and decided, I'm your judge, jury, and executioner. Before Gato could respond, Naruto forced him to the ground and made a shadow clone to retrieve the lightning sword that struck his angel. Activating the blade, he asked, any last words? Not given the tyrant a chance to speak, the teen separated Gato's head from his body. The head rolled away from the body, showing a look of surprise and fear. Too late, Naruto said with no hint of mercy or remorse. Hinata stared at the boy she had pined for most of her life. Something about the scene before her shook her to her core. It wasn't the bloody trail carved through the horde, nor were the dismembered bodies that held fear on their faces. It was the expression on the blonde's visage, a look of pure apathy. To her, it was almost like he couldn't be bothered by the men he had killed. He walked through the minefield of bodies back toward Haku and the others. He noticed Zabuza kneeling at Haku's side, and he could see that the man was crying over the fact that he had lost the girl who was like a daughter to him. The teen kneeled on the other side and removed his hood to allow his spiky blonde hair to come out. After a few minutes, Naruto spoke first. She loved you more than anything. I'm not sure about that, Zabuza responded. I'm sure she loved you more, kid. Tears welling up in the blonde's eyes, he said. She didn't sacrifice her life for me. She needs a proper burial, the teen stated. I know the perfect spot. As a subdued Naruto walked away, he didn't hear the villagers cheer that their oppressor was finally dead. Several days later, Zabuza arrived in a clearing to find the teen that had stolen Haku's heart. He stopped near the blonde to pay respects to the girl who was his daughter in all but blood. Naruto knew the man was standing next to him but made no move to recognize the swordsman. After what felt like forever to the pair, Zabuza spoke first. I'm sorry, kid. If I knew this would happen, I never would have come here. Naruto was silent for a moment and then spoke. There's nothing to be done about it now, besides she gave her life to save you. The least we can do now is live our lives in a way that makes her proud. Agreed? Agreed. By the way, I heard you were an Uzumaki. Take this, Zabuza said while handing the blonde a scroll with the Uzumaki swirl adorned. How did you know that, and what is this? Naruto asked as he reluctantly took the scroll from the man that could quickly end his life. Heard it from town and that raven-haired woman, and I figured you would want something that's part of your heritage, Zabuza told the teen. Naruto nodded and placed the scroll in his pocket. He walked away from the grave to give Zabuza a chance to be alone. After a while, Kakashi came upon the scene of Zabuza at the grave. Your student is something else, you know, Zabuza said in a matter-of-fact tone. He certainly is. What are you planning to do now? Kakashi asked. I'm headed back to Kuri. I plan on aiding the rebels in the civil war, the swordsman told the other man. All right, Kakashi said before walking off. However, Zabuza called out to him before leaving. Kakashi, that boy, Zabuza started as Kakashi turned his head to look at him. Is he related to either of those two? Related to who? Kakashi said wearily. It's kind of obvious. All of the Uzumaki I ever heard of had red hair, and I only know of one person that had that shade of blonde from your village, stated Zabuza as if he said something everyone knew. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Zabuza. However, if what you are implying is true, I'm sure that he wouldn't appreciate you spreading it to just anybody, Kakashi said in a tone that left little doubt that it was a warning. Hearing what was said, the former hunter-nin snorted. You don't have to tell me, Kakashi. The kid earned my respect. He turned back to face Haku's grave, continuing, besides, she would never forgive me if I caused him harm. Kakashi nodded and left the infamous swordsman with his thoughts. The proclaimed demon looked at the grave one last time, shedding a few more tears, and walked away, intending to do enough to see his daughter in the next life. Bridge to Fire Country. Later that week, the group of Konoha shinobi stood on the completed bridge overlooking the crowd of people there to see them off. Thank you, all of you, for saving our country. I don't know how we could ever repay you or Konoha, Tazuna said, with several others agreeing with his words. Technically you've already paid us. Especially once you got back what Gato took from all of you, said Kakashi. Still, it doesn't feel like enough, the old bridge builder said. We should be going now. You can call Konoha anytime, but make sure you have the money for a mission next time you request a task or tell us why you can't. We're pretty flexible about that kind of thing, Kakashi stated. Tazuna had the decency to be embarrassed. Inari ran up to Naruto and hugged him, asking him if they had to leave. I do, but don't worry, I'll be back before you know it, the blonde said while ruffling the young boy's hair. Tsunami was the next to hug the blonde, saying, thank you. I don't know what would have happened to us if those two got a hold of us. Naruto just waved it off and stated, it was nothing. Anyone else would have done the same. After a few more minutes, the shinobi started to make their way home in silence. Unbeknownst to most, Kakashi heard the villagers name the bridge after his young pupil. Knowing that his charge was already impacting the world, he simply smiled and thought of how proud Naruto's parents would be of him. Konoha. 4 days later, the group arrived inside the village, and Kurenai relieved her team while Kakashi told Naruto that the blonde was needed to attend the debriefing of the mission. Team 8 left the remaining Jonin and Genin to return to their respective homes. As they left, they stole worried glances at their former classmate, wondering if he would be okay. The 2 Jonin and lone Genin went via Shunshin toward the Hokage's office. Taking one last look at each other, the Genin silently agreed that they would help the friend that helped save their lives. Hokage Tower. Walking into the office, the 3 were ready to give their reports for the latest mission. After being filled in by his subordinates, Hiruzen dismissed Kurenai and gave her and her team a week off. She thanked him and bid the others goodbye. After she left, Hiruzen sent away his private guard and activated privacy seals. Now, Naruto, how are you feeling? Asked the old man. The teen thought for a moment and said, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how I feel. I want to feel so many things, but none of that is gonna bring her back or change the fact that I slaughtered Gato and his thugs. I guess I just want some time. I don't think I've really stopped and thought about everything that's happened so far. Hell, I don't think I've even come to terms with my first C rank. As he finished, he no longer stood in front of the man like his grandfather but near a window showing the village. I see, the aged leader said, you and Kakashi have the next week off. Try and find something to take your mind off of things. You are not the first to have unresolved feelings. You certainly won't be the last. Just take some time this next week. Okay? His surrogate grandson nodded with a pensive look on his face. Hiruzen excused the teen. After seeing him leave, the old leader turned to one of his best shinobi and asked, Kakashi, what do you think? I think that we probably won't know everything that's going on in his head. I also don't believe he would share something so personal, at least willingly, with us. Zabuza's accomplice, one Haku of the Yuki clan, made quite the impact on him during the mission. So much so that if Naruto didn't have a grip on his emotions like he does now, I'm sure some of the Kyuubi's chakra would have leaked out. He found something in her that he couldn't find in either of us. And what would that be? Hiruzen asked. I believe he found someone that could have been what Kushina and Minato were to each other. Who knows what the future would have been like if she had lived. I do know that he'll bounce back. He is their son, after all, Kakashi spoke as he whipped out his favorite little orange book. Hiruzen gave a slight grin as he thought of his successor and wife. I agree. Also, let him know that the bounty for Aoi Rokusho will be in his account and that he can rightfully claim the Raijin. Looking up from his book, Kakashi responded, Really? I figured he would get the bounty but the sword as well. Yes, well, considering the sword belongs to the Senju clan, and seeing as how the only person in the village that could make a claim based on family is Naruto, considering he is of the Uzumaki, who were distant relatives of the Senju, it only makes sense that the sword belongs to him. Don't you agree? Hiruzen stated. I do. I'll be sure to give it to him. I want to go over his training if you have the time, Kakashi asked as he sat, knowing that the old man would want to know about Naruto. Yes. Now, what did you have in mind? Hiruzen asked. Well, first, I have an idea for several teachers in areas I don't necessarily excel in, such as having Guy help him with his taijutsu. I think either Hate or Yugao for Kenjutsu since he wants to learn his mother's style. Asuma can help with his wind nature. I will have Inochi work with him on his sensor abilities. He's even started learning Fuinjutsu from his parents' scrolls, believe it or not. Kakashi rattled off the areas where Naruto was focusing. Impressive, the Hokage said with a gleam in his eye. Let's discuss the Chunin exams, shall we? This should be interesting, Kakashi said dryly. Yamanaka flowers. Naruto decided to see if the woman who helped him out so much the last was available to help with his gardening project. Entering the flower shop with his hood still up, he noticed that person staffing the shop was not Sora Yamanaka but her daughter, Ino. Welcome to Yamanaka Flowers. How can I help? Ino asked as she noticed someone walking into the shop. Not recognizing the person, she put up a professional front. Yes, I was wondering if Sora was in today. I have a few things I want to discuss with her concerning the last time I was here, Naruto said as he looked at some of the display pieces. Staring for a moment, Ino remembered her mother mentioning the teen in passing. Oh yeah, you had a bouquet of white lilies and some white tulips with a red rose, right? Right, he answered without looking back at her, and I'll need those along with one more if you don't mind. Oh? What would that be? She asked while wondering why the teen who seemed no older than her was paying for flowers that held such meanings, such purity and grief. He sighed and said with pain, a purple hyacinth, and I wish to have it planted at my estate if that's not too much trouble. It's something I want to add to what I had already discussed with your mother. She looked at him and thought, how could someone so young have felt so much pain? Noticing she hasn't responded yet, she said, She's out back in the greenhouse. I'll get her once I'm done with the bouquets. Okay, thank you, Naruto said, looking over the purple cosmos. A few minutes later, Ino and her mother came upon the scene of Naruto looking at the hydrangeas. I don't know how you two can work here all day. I wouldn't be able to get anything done surrounded by all this beauty, he stated, catching the duo slightly off guard. Sora was the first to shake off the surprise. Well, it's certainly hard on us some days, but we manage pretty well. How are you doing? Your last mission certainly took a long time. Yes, it did. Unfortunately, it went from a C rank to an A rank, so it took a significant toll on everyone involved, but we can talk about that at another time. I came to talk about what we discussed before I left, he said while deciding whether to lose the hood or not. Before she could respond, Ino spoke up. Wait, you're a shinobi? I don't think I've seen you before. You have, but we can talk about that later, the male blonde said while trying not to reveal himself. He's right, Ino. We can all talk about it when we go to his estate to plant a few things. She also mentioned adding a purple hyacinth, Sora said before Ino could go off on a tangent. Yes, that's right. Hopefully it won't be too much trouble, he said while noticing the slight pout on the girl's face. It's no trouble at all. You've already paid for the others. You'll just have to pay for the bouquets and the hyacinth today. When did you want us to come over to plant? The older Yamanaka asked. I have the next week off from missions. How about tomorrow? The sooner it gets done, the better, Naruto said while enamored with the orange daylilies. Sora thought for a moment. Yes, that'll be perfect. How about 10 o'clock? That works for me. Here are the directions to the estate. Knock when you get to the gate, he stated. That works for the two of us. Was there anything else? Sora asked while eyeing the different flowers he looked at while in the shop. No, thank you. I'll pay and be out of your hair, Naruto said, pulling out enough money to pay. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow, she said while watching the teen leave the shop. After seeing him go, the older woman turned to her daughter and asked, Well, what do you think about him? He seems nice. I just wish I knew who he was, Ino mused to her mother. Well, I'm sure you'll get to know him tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe he'll get you to forget about that Uchiha, Sora said with a slight smirk and a teasing glint in her eyes. MOM. The girl yelled at her mother, and the only thing heard after was the sound of laughter. Namake's estate. After leaving the mother and daughter duo, Naruto made his way towards his preferred weapons shop to pick up some things before heading back home to rest after the exhaustive mission to Wave. He entered his home and proceeded to strip down so he could wash everything. He was about to remove his pants when he felt the familiar presence of his sensei in his living room/kitchen. Entering the room to see Kakashi on the couch, you know, normal people knock. They don't just enter someone's home unannounced, Naruto chided his sensei, who didn't look up from his book. Course, when have you ever been considered normal? I'm hurt, Naruto. Here I am to offer help to my cute little student, and he treats me this way, the Cyclops said as he looked up from his book to see that his student had his face stuffed in the fridge. The blonde looked back at his teacher and said, sorry, did you say something? Kakashi, for his part, didn't know whether to applaud his student or admonish him. After a moment, he decided to forget the encounter altogether. Anyway, I came by to discuss several things with you, he finally said, putting his book away. Okay, give me a few minutes, and I'll be right there, the young teen said as he finished the laundry. He came back not long after in a pair of gray shorts and a simple red sleeveless shirt. Alright, what did you want to talk about? First off, how are you doing? The older man asked. Naruto was confused by the question. What do you mean? I'm fine. I'm a little tired, but I'm sure that's just because of us returning from a taxing mission. No, what I mean is how are you handling everything? From your first kill to wave, we didn't have much time to talk about everything that's happened, Kakashi said as he studied his student. I don't know, Naruto said as he leaned back, running a hand through his hair. I feel fine. I mean, my first kill was someone I would barely even consider human, so I don't regret ending his life. However, I sometimes see his eyes once I did end his life, which, I'm sure, is typical, or at least as usual as can be for shinobi. Right, Kakashi pondered for a moment, then replied, in a way, yes. You'll always remember your first. However, I don't think you'll be upset over thugs and bandits. Naruto sighed and said, yeah, you're right about those lowlifes, but I'm worried I'll get to a point where I'll start to enjoy it, and then I'm not going to recognize who I am anymore. As he finished, he felt something being placed in his hands. He looked at the object, and noticed that it was a face mask similar to his sensei's. He then looked at the man inquisitively, wondering what brought on the strange gift. I've been wearing a mask for as long as I can remember. I don't know why I first started, but I wear it now so that at the end of the day, everything that the world and life have dumped and thrown at me won't change who I am underneath. Everyone thinks I wear it for some reason or another, but I wear it so that I can face the man that stares back at me in the mirror, Kakashi spoke to the young teen. You're trying to protect yourself by hiding behind a mask, right? Naruto asked, still looking at the piece of dark gray fabric. That's right. You can keep that. I have plenty, the older man said while retrieving the Nidaime sword from his vest. Anyway, this belongs to you now. Consider it a family heirloom. The blonde looked at the handle of the famed sword as it was placed on the table in front of him. Seriously, I know there's only one Senju left, but that doesn't explain how it belongs to me. Kakashi merely shrugged. The Senju and Uzumaki are distant cousins. Since no Senju is left, it belongs to the Uzumaki now, i.e. you. I guess that makes sense, he said as he placed the sword back down. Now what? Kakashi gave the teen an eye smile and stated, now, we'll focus on your training after we return from leave. We'll discuss that more next week. Now, just relax and rest up. You can always reach out to Inoichi or me if you need someone to talk to. He is the foremost expert on the mind in the village. Plus, he's an accomplished censor as well. The only other thing I had was that the bounty of Aoi has been placed into your account. Okay? Alright, sounds good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to finish my laundry and a few other things before company comes over tomorrow, Naruto said as he tried to usher his sensei out the door. Kakashi raised his lone eyebrow a bit. Oh really? Anyone I know? The teen sighed. The Yamanakas are helping me plant a few things in the garden. Interesting, Kakashi merely said as he left via Shunshin. Naruto simply shook his head at the antics of his sensei. After taking care of the various chores around the estate and picking up some food, Naruto sat down and looked at the scroll Zabuza had given him. Let's see what you're all about, Naruto said to himself as he opened the scroll. It didn't open. That was when he noticed the blood seal. He quickly bit his thumb and wiped the seal with his thumb. The seal turned red and then blue and unlocked. Once he unfurled it, that's when he noticed the letter. To those that are left behind, my name is Ashina Uzumaki. If you are reading this, then you may be the last of the Uzumaki. In this scroll is what's left of our clan. Only those of royal blood can open it, thus meaning that whoever opened this scroll is now the head of the Uzumaki clan. This scroll contains various items, including a Hittite of Yuzushiogakure, books on our sealing techniques, a map of the location of our clan's mask storage temple, and the summoning scroll belonging to the Uzumaki clan. As long as one has Uzumaki blood running through their veins, they are allowed to sign the contract. Time has grown short, and I fear I won't live to see my granddaughter, Kushina, grow into the woman and shinobi I know she'll be. Lastly, I implore whoever reads this to make a home in Konoha. Hopefully, there will be other Uzumakis besides my granddaughter and sister that reside there. If you are the only one left, protect the ones you love in your home. Make sure your enemies remember the name Uzumaki as you send them to hell. Do your ancestors proud, and remember strength comes from protecting your family. Sincerely, Ashina Uzumaki. Naruto reread the letter several times. The only thing crossing his mind was damn, not only had he received items from his ancestral home, but he also learned he was of royal blood. Damn, was all he could say. He unsealed the items listed in the letter. The first thing he looked over were the books on ceiling. The literature seemed to be more encompassing than the text left over from his parents. He reasoned that the new books would increase his studies tenfold. Next, he looked at the map of his clan's temple. He noticed that it was located not too far from the outskirts of Konoha. Naruto figured he would ask permission to travel to the temple. Then, he examined the Hittite. He was identical in shape to his own. However, the metal was that of a matte black, and the symbol's outline was blood red, similar to his hoodie. He knew he had to use the piece of metal on his clothing while on duty. While not technically a shinobi of Uzumaki, it was his mother's birthplace and, by extension, him. Naruto would do what he could to honor his fallen clan. Lastly, the summoning contract. The contract itself was smaller than he thought it would be. He unfurled it to reveal a row of blank spaces with only 2 occupied slots. Naruto couldn't read one name, the other was clear as day. Ashina Uzumaki, he said softly. Guess I'll have to talk to Gigi tomorrow about all this. He sealed up the summoning contract back inside the letter. Then he went to pore over the books to see ways to improve his sealing. His studies carried well into the night. The following morning, Naruto woke up to start his daily routine. It was nearing the time that Sora Yamanaka would be arriving to help with the flowers he selected for his garden. After showering and getting dressed in a pair of black shorts and a long-sleeved gray shirt that was slightly baggy, after walking into the living room, he noticed the face mask that Kakashi had given him the day before. Maybe it would be better to hide in plain sight, he mused. Putting on the mask, he went to look at himself in a mirror. He first thought that he looked like a miniature, blonde version of his sensei. What's one more mask, right? He then noticed the time and made his way to the front gate. After a few minutes he heard knocking from outside. He opened the entrance to find not only Sora and Ino but also Inoichi Yamanaka standing in front of him with the plants he had picked out. Hey! Come on in and follow me, Naruto greeted the family as he motioned for them to follow him towards the backyard. Ino and her parents were right behind the blonde when she felt that she knew the person who looked no older than her. The group arrived at the spot and proceeded to get to work. Inoichi and Sora were busy teaching the boy the various ways that he should take care of the flowers. While Ino was busy helping her parents, she silently pondered what she knew of the teen opposite her. Her musings were broken when she heard her mother say they were done. It looks perfect. Thank you, Naruto said as he bowed to the flower shop owners. Yes, it does, Inoichi said on behalf of the others. You picked some fine specimens, although I hope that mask is the only thing you picked up from Kakashi. Ino perked up at that little tidbit, remembering the conversation Team 10 had with Asuma not too long ago. She heard him say, well, other than shinobi skills, yes it is. I'm not a fan of his choice of literature. The Yamanakas could see a dangerous glint in his eyes when talking about said books. Good, Sora said. Well, I hate to do this, but I need to see Gigi about something. So I guess if I have any problems, I'll get in touch, Naruto said as he began to lead the others to the front gate. Agreed, and let us know when you have to leave for an extended period. We can set something up for your plants, Inoichi added. Ino finally was able to get a word in and asked, okay, who are you? Why don't I remember seeing you before? Lastly, what's with the mask? Naruto looked at his former classmate with an amused look. You know who, but why ruin the surprise by telling you? Second, you've seen me plenty of times. Lastly, I have my reasons. Before Ino could blow a fuse, Sora interjected, come now, Ino, we have other things to do than watch you try to flirt. Mom, the girl whined to her mother, who had a teasing smile. She turned to the boy, I will figure you out. She finished her proclamation by pointing her index finger at him. Naruto had a look that told her that he was smirking at the statement. Well, good luck, princess. He could hear the indignant shouts from his old classmate as he walked towards Hokage Tower, while Ino's parents could only laugh at their daughter. Hokage Tower. As Naruto walked through town, he noticed that people were paying less attention to him. He figured it was because he was gone for an extended period and wasn't wearing his trademark orange tracksuit anymore. Guess this is what it's like to be invisible, he thought internally. Don't want to run into Gigi's secretary. I'll pull something Dad wrote in one of his journals, he continued as he made his way up to one of the windows that leads to the Hokage's office. Opening the window, he noticed his pseudo-grandfather reading from an orange book similar to his sensei. Realizing this, he snuck up behind the man and said, Hey, Gigi, what are you reading? Hiruzen nearly jumped out of his skin when he realized his surrogate grandson was behind and likely reading his student's work, closing the book and hiding it. He said in a grandfatherly voice, Ah, Naruto. You wouldn't be trying to give a heart attack now, would you? With a slight hint of amusement in his voice, Naruto said, You caught me? Just another ploy to take that hat from you. The pair shared a laugh as the ANBU hiding in the office could tell, despite the secrets between the two, that they were still close. I'm here about something I obtained while on my last mission. It'd be great if you could excuse the 4 ANBU in your office. The older man hummed in agreement as he signaled his guard to vacate his office. After his guards left and placed the privacy seal so that others couldn't eavesdrop on their conversation, Hiruzen finally noticed how the young teen was dressed. He saw that Naruto had foregone his customary orange in favor of a more relaxed look, including a charcoal gray baggy shirt with a matching face mask, black shorts, and black sandals. I must say, Naruto, you certainly live up to your reputation as Konoha's #1 surprising ninja. Dare I say that you look like a mix of Kakashi and your father. Although, I do hope that you don't pick up any of Kakashi's less desirable traits. I do have one question though, why the mask? Naruto shrugged and rubbed the back of his head, saying, no reason, although it seems that most people didn't even notice me while I walked over, so I'm probably going to keep it. Noticing he completely ignored the comment on picking up his sensei's habits, the Hokage could only sigh internally. Anyway, what was it that you wished to talk to me about? The teen's response was to pull out the scroll he obtained from Zabuza, unlock it, and place the letter on the older man's desk for him to read. Hiruzen, for his part, looked at the blonde and began to read the letter. After doing what Naruto did the day before, Hiruzen reread the letter several times to ensure it was real. He even tried to dispel a genjutsu to confirm that the letter was authentic. After admitting that the letter was genuine, Hiruzen could only ask, where did you get this, my boy? Would you believe if I said I got it from Zabuza because his surrogate daughter liked me? Naruto said with a somewhat laid-back tone, trying to mask the pain he felt for Haku and, by extension, Zabuza. The Hokage only looked at the blonde with a deadpan expression, stating, yes, I do, but I doubt that you came here just to inform me of this. He gestured to the letter to further his point. The teen sighed, you're right. I came by to ask about the summoning contract. More specifically, I was wondering how to use it. Plus, if I'm going to give you a heart attack, I want to be intentional. He ended his sentence with a playful look that was uniquely his and his mother's. Hiruzen chuckled at the boy's antics. Well, why don't we go to my personal training grounds so that you can get a feel for it? Naruto nodded and followed the old man as they made their way to the training grounds conveniently located behind the tower. When the pair made it to the center of the training grounds, Naruto unsealed the summoning contract from the letter and unfurled it. Going into professor mode as his old students would jokingly call it, Hiruzen began to explain about summoning. Now, Naruto. Summoning is a powerful technique. Depending on the animal, the summons can assist the summoner in time of great need. However, one must treat their summons with the utmost respect. Just because you sign the contract doesn't mean that they will accept you as their summoner. Do you understand? The young teen nodded and replied, hi GG. I do have one question though. Hiruzen motioned for the boy to continue. Naruto asked, is it possible to sign multiple contracts? The older man understood where the boy was coming from now. Naruto, along with most of the shinobi world, knew that the Yondaime held the Toad contract. Being his son, Naruto did have the birthright to sign with the Toads. Well, it is uncommon for people to carry one summoning contract, let alone two, the Hokage started. He noticed the disappointed look on this boy's face. However, since this contract is connected to your family line and I can imagine the other contract you want to sign, I would not imagine that there would be a problem, although you would need to discuss that with the respective boss summons. Also, you would need to use one hand for each summon. Understood? Hi, Naruto said, now what do I do? You sign your name in blood in one of the spaces provided. Also, ensure that you place your bloodied fingertips underneath your name so that the summoning is tied to you. Hiruzen started. After watching Naruto finish signing with his left hand, he continued, okay, now watch us make these hand seals. The Hokage performed the jutsu, proclaimed summoning jutsu, and slammed his hand on the ground. Out of the smoke came what appeared to be a giant monkey with white fur. He wore mesh armor under a green jumpsuit. On top, he wore a tiger-striped vest tied off with a red sash. Noticing the wide-eyed look in his eyes, Hiruzen smirked and said, Naruto, this is the Monkey King, Enma. He is my personal summons. Enma looked down at the young blonde with a calculating gaze. He then noticed the summoning contract on the ground and the freshly signed name on said contract. Without his gaze leaving the boy, he asked his summoner, Hiruzen, is that who I think he is? Naruto could only stare at the Monkey King, and he could tell that Enma was mighty. He heard the Hokage answer, yes. He is Naruto Uzumaki, the son of Kushina and Minato. He was asking me questions about summoning. Enma grunted in response, I see. If that's all you need, I'll take my leave, Naruto, I wish you the best. As Enma dispelled, Hiruzen could hear Naruto say so cool in a voice that proved that the boy was still very young despite the recent things he had to do. Gaining his attention, Hiruzen said, now, Naruto. Why don't you try it? Put as much chakra as you can into it. Naruto nodded and began to perform the hand seals. After completing the jutsu, the smoke faded to show an owl roughly about the same size as Naruto. Naruto's owl summons are based on the Ural owl, found throughout Japan. Then the owl looked towards the person who had summoned it and spoke, what is your name, boy? You don't appear to be an Uzumaki. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. I found the summoning contract in a letter that Ashina Uzumaki wrote. That letter was sealed with a blood seal. That should tell you exactly who I am, Naruto said in a tone that was a mix of respect and irritation. With amusement in its voice, the owl responded, I see. I know of Ashina and Kushina. When Ashina summoned us when he needed guidance, he would talk extensively about his granddaughter. I'm aware of Ashina's passing, but where is your mother? I would love to meet someone related to our greatest summoner. Naruto sighed sadly, unfortunately, I'm afraid that's impossible. My mother passed on the day I was born. As far as I know, I'm the last Uzumaki. The giant owl bowed to the blonde, taken aback by the information, I see. My father always did wonder why your mother never did sign the contract. Where are my manners? My name is Chie. I am the daughter of the boss summons, Chino, and I am pleased to make your acquaintance. Bowing back to Chie, Naruto said, It's nice to meet you too. What do I need to do to be accepted as your summoner? Chie made a noise in what could only be described as a chuckle. Naruto, the owls have already accepted you as our summoner. My father knew the moment you signed the contract who you were. We are not known for wisdom and insight for nothing, you know. It's also, as you said, that you are, most likely, the last Uzumaki. We shall serve you from espionage to transportation. If that is all, young sir, I shall bid you good day. After Chie returned to her world, Naruto and Hiruzen stared at the site where the large owl had just stood. Hiruzen was the first to comment, well, that was certainly interesting. Naruto hummed in agreement, yes it was. I guess I got something to work on with Kakashi when we return on duty. Yes you do. Remember, Hiruzen motioned for the boy to look at him. Summons are potent tools that could turn the tide in battles and missions. Be sure to treat them with respect, and they will be invaluable to you in your career as a shinobi. Now how about some lunch? Naruto agreed wholeheartedly, and the pair made their way to Ichiraku's, where they proceeded to talk with the friendly ramen cooks for what felt like hours. After both had their fills, all of them said their goodbyes, with Naruto headed back to his home and Hiruzen back to his office. The following saw Kakashi and Naruto standing in training ground 7. Okay, Naruto, Kakashi started, we are going to train for the next 4 months for the Chunin exams. In fact, I've enlisted the help of someone in her personal playground. Before his student could question him, Kakashi grabbed Naruto and shunshine to a section of forest that was fenced off. Naruto, I would like to welcome you to training ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Ah, Kakashi, when you told me about helping you train your student, you didn't tell me he was a mini-you, a young woman wearing a tan overcoat and a dark orange miniskirt over mesh armor covering her from her neck to her thigh said. She wore gray metal shin guards over her shinobi sandals. She appeared behind Naruto while holding a kunai to his neck. Anko, please don't harm my student, he started to say, at least until we discuss the plan for the next 4 months. The now named Anko retracted the kunai and stood where both could see her. You're no fun, Kakashi, but I guess I can wait a bit. Just remember that you owe me. I know, Anko, Kakashi said. He then addressed his slightly scared student, Naruto, meet Anko Mitarashi. She is the foremost expert on stealth, torture, and infiltration in Konoha. She'll work with you in those areas to have more weapons in your arsenal. Speaking of weapons, in this scroll are 2 ninjato. I have 2 swordsmen who will assist you in the basics until you're ready to learn your mother's style. It's so that you can get a feel for the blades. He tossed the storage scroll to his young student. Our schedule will be for the first month or so. You will be refining everything you know now. We'll also be stepping up your physical training to prepare your body better. Your clones will be used to perfect and master your existing jutsu and help fill any gaps in your schooling. After that first month, Anko will go over torture and anything else she doesn't cover during that time. This forest will be your home for the next 4 months until 3 days before the exams start. I'll be drilling you in various ninjutsu, tactics, and strategies. I know that we've already went over most of this before, but now we'll really be taking your training seriously. Alright, enough talk. Create as many clones as you can. Hi, sensei, Naruto stated as he formed his signature hand seal. What followed had Kakashi chuckling and Anko gaping like a fish. Standing in the clearing stood 400 shadow clones of the young blonde. Okay, Naruto. I'll be taking your clones. Before I forget, put these weights on. They'll help increase your strength and speed. I forgot to give them to you before, Kakashi stated. After waiting for the blonde to put on the weights, asking if he was ready, and receiving confirmation, he turned to Anko. Okay, Anko. He's all yours. Wait, what? He asked. Anko pulled out several kunai, giving the blonde only a few seconds to think before saying, Gaki, dodge. What if Naruto is Kakashi's favorite student? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.